Chapter 799. Who are you? Chu Yang sized up the person in front of him again. He had a metal-like face without any emotions, temperature, or life. His body was emitting golden light that was abnormally cold. It was like absolute zero. When the light landed on his body, he felt like he was going to be frozen. Chu Yang couldn't be sure if this person in front of him was a human or not. Although he had the appearance and body of a human, he couldn't sense his origin energy. To be able to condense such a huge sphere and control the Emperor Island as he wished, this wasn't something a Soul Wheel Realm expert could do. Chu Yang was definitely not a match for him. Guardian of the Emperor Island. Guardian of the Emperor Island. When these words entered his ears, it was like a clap of thunder. Chu Yang was shocked. These words contained too much information. You were the one who repelled the demons? Chu Yang was finally enlightened about the abnormal behavior of the demon race. What do you mean by repelling them? They're just looking for me. The Guardian's voice wasn't metallic, but there was definitely no trace of emotions. What? Chu Yang's eyes narrowed. They had slaughtered so many people just to force the Guardian to appear. No, this wasn't forcing. No matter how many people died, the Guardian probably wouldn't appear. This was a way to find the Guardian or to attract the Guardian's attention. He thought of many things in an instant and roughly knew the origin of this parrot. Speaking of the Eastern Wilderness Great Emperor, he had at least two distinctive symbols, the Eastern Wilderness Pagoda and the parrot. It was said that the parrot of the Eastern Wilderness wasn't the pet of the Eastern Wilderness Great Emperor. Instead, it was the brother of the Eastern Wilderness Great Emperor. The two of them were sworn friends. It was obvious that this lousy parrot was the descendant of the Eastern Wilderness Great Emperor. Who are these two? Chu Yang's killing intent instantly rose. They all deserved to die. The desolate demon young master and the child of the sea god. The Guardian directly told Chu Yang, which made Chu Yang a little surprised. At the same time, he was shocked. The child of the sea god. If that was the case, the explanation of the sea demons was very easy. Both of them have received preliminary recognition from the Eastern Wilderness Tower? Chu Yang narrowed his eyes slightly. Guardian, you came to find me to see if I have the qualifications to be recognized by the Eastern Wilderness Tower, right? Yes. The Protector said, just now I tested your battle prowess. I can feel that your battle prowess is very shocking. There is no need to continue. Now, let's see if you can get the Eastern Wasteland Tower's approval. As he spoke, the Guardian's golden finger pointed at Chu Yang's forehead. 1. Suddenly, there was a buzzing sound in Chu Yang's spiritual world. A simple and unadorned huge pagoda appeared in his spiritual world. Although it was simple and unadorned, it was very magnificent. It almost filled his spiritual world. Even a slight movement could make his spiritual world explode. Boom, boom, boom. Chu Yang was like an ant in front of the tower. The huge tower was like a mountain, and if it fell on him, the consequences of being an ant could be imagined. The so-called Wilderness Demon Prince and the child of the sea god also received this test? I want to see how difficult this test is. This was an invisible confrontation with the Wilderness Demon Prince and the child of the sea god. If Chu Yang couldn't even pass the test, then he definitely wasn't a match for these two. The suppression of the ancient tower was a spiritual suppression. This was a spiritual confrontation. Chu Yang had no intention of attacking the Eastern Wilderness Tower. He imagined himself as the earth that carried all things. Chapter 800. Dong. When the ancient pagoda fell, Chu Yang's mind shook violently. However, everything calmed down immediately. It didn't cause too big of a ripple. Everything was as Chu Yang had expected. Unfortunately, the Guardian did not show any emotion, so he did not get any useful information to deduce the relationship between the desolate demon prince and the sea god's son. That lousy parrot had a look of disdain on its face, but Chu Yang directly ignored it. You have been recognized by the Eastern Wilderness Pagoda. Before the guardian finished speaking, he had already disappeared into thin air, but that lousy parrot was still there. Then the sphere in the air also unraveled, revealing Chu Yang once again. Everyone's eyes immediately looked over. Jun Zhan Tian and the burning sky Holy Sun's pupils constricted in the dark. Chu Yang had been recognized by the Eastern Wilderness Pagoda a bit too quickly. Kiki, that pig lover, that thing with special fetishes, that guy with heavy tastes, why don't you hurry up and kowtow to this divine bird and shout that the divine bird has appeared, its divine abilities are great, its magical power is boundless, and its lifespan is the same as the heavens. The parrot laughed loudly and poked Chu Yang with its wings, saying proudly, "This divine bird can now officially tell you, don't jump. If I say you have been recognized by the Eastern Wilderness Pagoda, then you are. If I say no, then you are bullshit." The Eastern Wilderness Pagoda's recognition. A single word caused a huge wave, and everyone immediately cried out in surprise. The Eastern Wilderness Pagoda, who was that person that appeared just now? The little prince suddenly obtained the Eastern Wilderness Pagoda's recognition. What is this situation? Could it be that that was a test, and the little prince has already passed the test? Kiki. When the parrot heard everyone's cries of surprise, it became even more proud. It laughed strangely and shouted, "Little ones, now you know how powerful it is, this divine bird is invincible. Why don't you kneel and shout that the divine bird has appeared, its divine abilities are great, its magical power is boundless, and its lifespan is the same as the heavens. The divine bird has appeared, its divine abilities are great, its magical power is boundless, and its lifespan is the same as the heavens." Wasn't this stealing the little prince's slogan? Could it be that like master, like servant? The little young master didn't know how to behave properly. The divine bird that was recognized by the Eastern Wilderness Tower was also so shameless. I know what a lousy parrot it is. Suddenly, a person cried out in alarm. But just as his voice sounded, a tricolored light shot out like lightning. By the time the man sensed it again, the parrot had already closed in on him. With a smack of its talons, the man was sent tumbling backward. Who are you calling a lousy parrot? It was glaring angrily at that person, its eyes almost spitting fire. A slip of the tongue, a slip of the tongue. The man apologized profusely. Lord Divine Bird, it was a slip of the tongue. Just say it was a slip of the tongue and it'll be fine. The parrot's anger had not yet subsided. It nimbly pointed at the pig demon that Chu Yang had killed with its wings and ordered, "You go and fall in love with that pig immediately, and have a heart-wrenching love." The parrot was truly lacking in virtue. The man's face immediately flushed red, as if his father had just died. "What are you waiting for?" "Yes, yes, yes." He didn't dare to resist and hurriedly went to have a passionate love affair with the pig. "That's right." The parrot proudly puffed out its chest. "This divine bird is the descendant of the great emperor of the Eastern Wilderness. From now on you can all call me the divine bird of the Eastern Wilderness." Now, its eyes swept over the crowd once again and ordered, "Please loudly shout this divine bird's slogan." Everyone was naturally shocked, but they hesitated. This divine bird was not to be trifled with, and that little young master was not to be trifled with either. "That's not good, that's the little young master's slogan." Pung! The parrot was angry, flames shooting out of its eyes as it angrily said, "What little young master's slogan? When I used this slogan, that thing wasn't even born yet." Chapter 801. That pig-loving guy. That thing with a special fetish. That guy with a heavy taste. The more Chu Yang thought about it, the angrier he got. "What? You obviously have a special fetish. You don't even let the bird talk about it." Quack, quack. The parrot laughed wildly again. "I promise I'll make sure you die with a sense of rhythm." When the parrot heard this, its eyes immediately lit up. Then it poked Chu Yang with its wing. "How dare you? Special fetish. You dare to steal my famous words? You deserve to die. Why don't you kneel down and apologize? Everyone thought that the divine bird was hopeless. At the same time, they also thought that Chu Yang had met his match. Swish! Chu Yang shot toward the parrot like lightning. He was as fast as lightning. The parrot was slightly surprised and quickly dodged. Then Chu Yang repeatedly attacked the stupid parrot. However, he was shocked to find that the stupid parrot was very fast. It was very difficult to deal with this stupid parrot without using his full strength. At the moment, Chu Yang was trying to catch a fly. Of course, this stupid parrot was not a fly. With Chu Yang's current cultivation, the fly would have been dead long ago. Fly, do you really think I can't do anything to you? Who are you calling a fly? You special fetish. You pervert. You're the fly. The parrot's angry voice suddenly stopped. Chu Yang had already taken out the yin-yang 4 symbols vase. He pointed the mouth of the vase and said, "Suck." "Ah!" The parrot screamed. It was shocked to find that it was being sucked in by an amazing suction force. It struggled with all its might. Most shocking of all, its soul was being sucked out. When Chu Yang's small white hand reached out to grab it, it shouted angrily, "Special fetish! You want to kill the divine bird that upholds justice? How can you succeed?" Flap, flap, flap. Its tricolored wings flapped violently, shooting out streaks of rainbow light that converged and transformed into a bottle similar to the yin-yang 4 symbols vase. It resisted Chu Yang's yin-yang 4 symbols vase and broke free from the suction force, escaping. Chu Yang was shocked once again. When he met Little Six in Coiling Dragon Town, Little Six also had the same ability and was able to learn his martial skills in an instant. And yet, this lousy parrot was even more astonishing than Little Six. It was only a matter of time before the yin-yang 4 phases vase was able to transform it into a magical technique. His eyes lit up. Chu Yang possessed the genius martial soul, and the wind brain had caused his brain to undergo a fundamental change. Just like Little Lu, it wasn't difficult for him to instantly learn other people's martial technique. The difficult part was that he couldn't quickly grasp the martial soul visualization diagram in the opponent's martial technique. This lousy parrot could do it. If he ate this lousy parrot and got its talent, wouldn't that be more or less the same? The parrot's hair stood on end. Chu Yang's gaze was extremely frightening. No, it was extremely frightening. TCH, that's a special fetish. What's with that look? This divine bird is warning you. If you dare to look at me like that again, this divine bird will immediately turn you into ashes. I like to eat capable birds, especially ones like you. Chu Yang's eyes were burning. Although I don't seem to like parrot meat very much, I don't mind tasting it. So, I've decided to put you, this stupid bird, on my gourmet ranking list. Son of a bitch, this special fetish. He actually planned to eat it. The parrot was also angry. Special fetish. This divine bird is officially informing you. This divine bird is going to turn you into ashes. However, it instantly screamed again. It was once again trapped by the yin-yang 4 symbols vase. Just as it was about to use the same trick to break free, it felt a violent pressure above its head, and there was even a rumbling sound. The parrot looked up, and its eyes almost popped out of their sockets. The Eastern Wilderness Tower. Chapter 802. Chu Yang had only used the Eastern Wilderness Tower's test for this attack. It was a perfect reappearance. This is the divine bird's will to die. Its special fetish is actually on par with this divine bird's. This time it was truly shocked. It was too late to dodge, so it could only threaten. Special fetish? You should know that this divine bird can control the mark of the Eastern Wilderness Tower. If you piss this divine bird off, this divine bird will immediately take back that mark. TCH. Chu Yang looked down on it. It's just the Eastern Wilderness Tower. You think I care about this stupid thing? Who cares about the great emperor of the Eastern Wilderness? You, a stupid bird, dare to act so impudently in front of me just because you're the great emperor of the eastern wilderness? Today I'll teach you how to write the wrong word. Junjian Tian, who was hiding in the dark, couldn't help but become angry when he heard Chu Yang's words. The Eastern Wilderness Tower is just a stupid thing. Who cares about the great emperor of the Eastern Wilderness? Chu Yang actually dared to belittle his ancestor. When he thought back to what the burning heaven holy sun had said, he really felt that this so-called little prince was extremely likely to give the Eastern Wilderness Tower to Chu Yang. The great emperor of the Eastern Wilderness was indeed a supreme existence in the Eastern Wilderness, but it wasn't necessarily a famous figure in the East continent. Therefore, although Junjian Tian was angry, he didn't lose his temper. The little prince in front of him really didn't care about the Eastern Wilderness Tower. The deeper reason was that Junjian Tian clearly knew that the great emperor of the Eastern Wilderness, his ancestor, had been hunted down by enemies in the East continent, and then fled to the Eastern Wilderness. That thing, you actually dare to disrespect the great emperor of the Eastern Wilderness. The parrot was completely angry. It seems that I must take back this mark. Stupid bird, let's not talk about whether you have the ability to take it back. Even if you do, so what? Chu Yang was filled with disdain. This damned bird wanted to hook something out of his mouth. It was simply wishful thinking. As long as he had the genius martial soul and the fool martial soul, the mark of the Eastern Wilderness Tower would be able to escape. Stupid bird, I'll be honest with you. The main reason I came to this stupid island is to create a gourmet cuisine ranking to pay my respects to my idol. Now, I can tell you with absolute certainty that I'm going to eat you today. Ah! The parrot struggled with all its might. It knew that it had encountered a difficult opponent this time. Its entire body erupted with 3 colors, red, blue, and black. The rainbow light was incomparably dazzling. At the same time, the phantom of a divine pagoda appeared above its head. Rumble! Chu Yang's spiritual world trembled incessantly. The giant tower formed by the imprint of the Eastern Wilderness Tower trembled violently. It immediately wanted to uproot itself from the ground, shrink, and fly out of Chu Yang's spiritual world. This lousy bird really has this ability. Chu Yang activated the genius martial soul. Suddenly, a big hand of light fell and grabbed the Eastern Wilderness Tower. It fiercely kneaded, squeezed, and squeezed. The originally mountain-sized Eastern Wilderness Tower instantly turned into a talisman. The genius martial soul threw it back into Chu Yang's spiritual world in disdain. What? The parrot was really frightened this time. It couldn't recall the imprint of the Eastern Wilderness Tower. This kind of thing had never happened before. Junjian Tian, who was hiding in the dark, was also shocked. This was too unbelievable. After all, this was Emperor Island, where the Eastern Wilderness Tower was located. Even so, the imprint couldn't be retrieved. Dong! The Eastern Wilderness Tower formed by the spiritual chi pressed the parrot to the ground. Chu Yang walked over and grabbed its claws. He suddenly lifted it up, but he felt that this stupid bird was quite heavy. Chapter 803. Bang! 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 Who's the pig lover? Who's the pig lover? Who's the pig lover? Chu Yang grabbed this lousy bird and started to smash and hammer it. The parrot screamed again and again. Finally, it didn't dare to be arrogant anymore. It begged for mercy again and again. Its body couldn't kneel down, but its voice was already kneeling down. Grandpa, please spare me. I'm the pig lover. Grandpa, please spare me. I'm the pig lover. Grandpa, please spare me. I'm the pig lover. Too savage, too lacking in morals, actually mistreating a divine bird like it. The parrot wanted to cry but had no tears. If it had known that Chu Yang was so cruel, it wouldn't have dared to talk nonsense. But now it was too late to say anything. Spare you? You're humiliating me. It's your honor to be on my gourmet rankings. Stupid bird, you should be proud. How can you be afraid of death? The parrot was in a coma and was about to faint. Don't worry. When I pluck your feathers, I'll make sure you're in pain, Chu Yang said as he plucked the parrot's feathers. The parrot screeched miserably. In the end, Chu Yang had plucked out all its feathers. But he was still not satisfied. He roasted the parrot over the fire and burned off all its feathers. Chu Yang didn't stop there. He condensed his spiritual energy into a mirror so that the parrot could look at its current majestic appearance. The parrot saw its naked body in the mirror, and its vision turned black. But that was not the end of it. Its entire body was charred black, and it couldn't bear it any longer. It roared, "You wicked thing! Grandpa Bird only uses his mouth, but not his hands. You scolded and hit me. Grandpa Bird will fight you." It opened its mouth and spat out a torrent of flames, swords, gold rock, and other demonic beasts. But how could it do anything to Chu Yang? Chu Yang smashed it into pieces. "I'll kill you! I'll kill you!" Chu Yang turned his spirit energy into a knife and directly cut off the 2 wings of the parrot. He threw them to the parrot and ordered, "Go and roast your wings for me to eat." The parrot simply wanted to die. "How could you bully a bird like this? You cut off its wings, and I even had to personally cook it for you to eat. Was there still any bird logic? Was there still any bird method? Young master, I don't have hands." The parrot didn't dare to provoke Chu Yang again. It could only flatter and carefully put forward such a good reason to avoid the tragedy of becoming the first parrot in history to roast its own wings. Chu Yang didn't say anything. He directly cut off a piece of meat from its body and stared at it. "Now you have hands, right?" "Yes, yes, yes." The parrot was trembling in fear. It finally realized that this vicious thing really wanted to eat it. It was just worried that the guardian would come to its rescue and show justice. But the guardian, that damn thing, didn't care whether it lived or died. Soon, everyone saw a parrot with 2 of its wings cut off. It spat out flames from its mouth in an incomparably comical manner. The spirit energy on its body transformed into 3 hands and began to roast its 2 wings and a piece of its own flesh. Then they heard the parrot's miserable voice. "Young master, I've never roasted meat before. My technique is not good. Please forgive me later." "It's okay. If your technique isn't good, you can practice more," Chu Yang said. "Although you don't have much meat on your body, I can still cut you into pieces. I guarantee that there's enough meat on your body. You can practice without worry." When the parrot heard this, it directly fell to the ground. Miserable, miserable, miserable. It felt that there was no other parrot in the world that could be more miserable than it. It had no love for life. "You've dirted my parrot wings. Hurry up and wash them." As soon as the words left Chu Yang's mouth, the parrot shot up into the air and used his spiritual energy to create water to wash the parrot's wings, as well as the parrot's flesh. Before long, the parrot was filled with grief. "These were my wings." Chapter 804. Stupid bird, what kind of expression is that? You look like you lost your parents. I'm not happy. Can't you give me a way out? Although the parrot was wailing in its heart, it immediately forced a happy face and happily roasted its parrot wings. "That's right." Chu Yang spoke again. "Sing another song, it'll be even better. Sing with me. I'm a little bird, I want to fly, but I can't fly high. I'm looking for a warm embrace, isn't that asking too much?" When the parrot heard this, it felt as if it was singing from the bottom of its heart. Then, it was horrified. This cruel thing had completely penetrated its heart. The shadow in its heart expanded countless times. Given the current situation, the parrot had 10,000 bad feelings. This cruel guy in front of it could definitely think of 10,000 ways to soak it, and 10,000 ways to make it miserable. It quivered and immediately began to sing. Its voice was very clear and pleasant to the ear, but its heart was already bleeding. "You sang well. Let me teach you another song. I thought I would cry, but I didn't. I just stared at your footsteps and gave you my last blessing. Isn't this also a kind of enlightenment? The parrot thought, I'm already crying. In the end, it understood the meaning of the song. It was a story of a man and a woman who loved each other to death. This was obviously revenge for the parrot saying, Let go of that sow, let me do it. It regretted it so much now that it had to have a passionate relationship with this ferocious guy. Oh, what a painful enlightenment! When the parrot sang this line, it completely sang its heart out. Finally, Chu Yang made it sing "Conquer" again. The parrot felt that if this continued, its spiritual wings would be cut off and roasted. Then, it suddenly thought of a reason to save its life. Young master, I'm male. The parrot screamed, and in an instant, a large piece of meat was cut off from its body. Then, Chu Yang threw it over for it to roast. At first, it didn't understand, but then it understood homosexuality. Hey, how can I be so stupid? The parrot wailed in its heart. Who can save this poor bird, the most miserable parrot in the world? Everyone present watched this scene with their eyes wide open and their mouths wide open. They didn't get tired of watching it for a long time, but after they slowly calmed down, they still felt that it was unbelievable. Although this parrot had a foul mouth, it was still the great emperor's bird of the eastern wilderness. How could it be that it didn't care about the inheritance of the great emperor of the eastern wilderness at all? Then, they suffered a calamity. What kind of expression is that? Isn't it just a stupid bird? If you dare to sympathize with it again, I'll deal with all of you as well. Hearing this, everyone was scared half to death and immediately shouted, Little young master, you are on the Emperor's island. You possess remarkable abilities and boundless magic power. Little young master's magic power is boundless on the Emperor's island, and his longevity is as long as the heavens. In the dark, Jun Zhan Tian listened to the loud shouts and gritted his teeth. This bastard, humiliating the divine bird like this, he's slapping the face of my Jun family. I want him dead, I want him dead. The burning sky holy sun was shocked. Jun Zhan Tian's emotions were fluctuating too much. He was afraid that Chu Yang would sense it, so he said, Young master, you have to control yourself. If that bastard finds out, it'll be very bad. Jun Zhan Tian immediately quivered. He and the burning sky holy sun were definitely not this young master's match. If he were to be toyed with like this, he probably didn't want to live anymore. With this scare, all his emotions disappeared in an instant, and he hurriedly left. Chapter 805 Emperor Island. In a secret realm, among the mountains, there was a lonely palace. It was cold and desolate. A person entered the secret realm, and the sound of air breaking was very clear. He instantly disappeared into the palace. Inside the palace, it was pitch black. One couldn't even see their own fingers. Ming Zi has news. In order to prevent the East Continent's young master from teaming up with Chu Yang, he requested to kill the East Continent's young master immediately. Got it. A cold and gloomy voice came from the dark. The voice was extremely low, as though a poisonous snake was hissing. Then, the voice said, Is there any news about Chu Yang? Not yet? Oh, could it be that he hasn't entered Emperor Island? There is no way to know. What are you doing? A few voices came from the dark. At this moment, there was no way to know how many people were in the dark. Alright, don't make things difficult for him. You may leave and find Chu Yang's traces as soon as possible. Yes. The person left, and the voice in the dark sounded again. Nu Yi, how should we deal with Ming Zi's request? This voice was very hoarse. The cold and gloomy voice from before sneered and said, He really thinks that he is the young lord. He is just a chess piece and dares to command us. That East Continent's young master is not the main point now. The main point is that Chu Yang. His threat is too great. Nu San, what he said is exactly what I am worried about. This voice didn't reveal any emotions. It was as though a puppet was speaking. This Chu Yang has completely ruined our plan. What I am most worried about is that he is only at the ascending soul realm. With the help of some artifacts, he was actually able to easily kill a 9th stage soul reincarnation realm martial artist. Even if the three of us attack together, we might not be able to take him down. The two sects, the Soul Devourer clan and the Thousand Demon sect, had slaughtered tens of millions of lives. Not only could they obtain a lot of soul energy by relying on the soul-quenching gourd, but if this matter was exposed, these two sects would become even more notorious. If they were exterminated, one could imagine the reputation they would gain. Unfortunately, not only had the 10 million souls been obtained by Chu Yang, the annihilation of the Soul Devourer clan and the Thousand Demon sect had also been done by Chu Yang in advance. All of them had been given to Chu Yang. How could they not hate him? This Chu Yang really deserves to die. The Soul Devourer clan and the Thousand Devil sect were originally left for young Master to annihilate so that he could win fame. But now, both of them have been overturned by him. It's really hateful. There were 3 people in the darkness. One was New E, one was New San, and the last one should be New Air. The 3 of them were all slaves of the descendants of the great emperor in the eastern wilderness. They did not have names, only code names. They were in the light, but they had to hide in the darkness. Even their own people could not see their faces because they had to specialize in those shameful things. New San said through gritted teeth, "Our years of hard work have practically been for naught. This can still be remedied. If we don't have a good reputation, then we can use our fame to suppress them. As long as young Master can kill the desolate beast and the sea god this time, and obtain anything from the Eastern Wilderness Tower, the Eastern Wilderness will still be ours." New Air's hoarse voice was filled with worry. The most troublesome thing now is this Chu Yang. Under the suppression of Emperor Island, our realms have been suppressed too much. Even if we have secret treasures that can temporarily break free from Emperor Island's suppression, we won't be able to hold on for too long. Also, what worries me the most is that this Chu Yang can be said to be invincible on Emperor Island, but he's so low-key and cautious that we still haven't heard from him. His temperament really makes me scared. Nu Yi's emotionless voice rang out again. This Chu Yang is indeed troublesome, but this young master from the East Continent can't be left alive either. He admires Chu Yang. If the two of them work together, there's really nothing we can do. That's right. In the darkness, after a short silence, New Air spoke again. This young master from the East Continent might not be very interested in the Eastern Wilderness Tower. If he has misgivings with Chu Yang, there won't be any conflict. If the Burning Sky Holy Sun and Jun Zhan Tian could think of this, how could Nu Yi and the other two not think of it? If we kill this young master from the East Continent and incur the wrath of the big shots from the East Continent, I'm afraid there will be endless trouble in the future. This will depend on whether we can do it flawlessly. If we can, the advantages of killing this young master from the East Continent will outweigh the disadvantages. If the young master from the East Continent was killed, and the big shots from the East Continent were enraged, the ones to suffer would naturally be the major forces in the Eastern Wilderness. This was even more so when they couldn't find the culprit. Perhaps the big shots from the East Continent would sweep through all the major forces in the Eastern Wilderness. When that happened, it would be easier for them to control the Eastern Wilderness. Chapter 806. Nu Yi, you make the decision. Nu San said coldly. If it wasn't for this Chu Yang, our massacre would have already started. No one should even think about touching the Eastern Wilderness Tower. If the elites from the Eastern Wilderness who entered Emperor Island heard such words, they would probably not be able to eat or sleep in peace. There was actually someone on Emperor Island who specifically wanted to slaughter them. However, that was indeed the case. It wasn't that there weren't any elites in the Eastern Wilderness. Emperor Island opened again and again, but no one could obtain the Eastern Wilderness Tower and obtain the inheritance of the great Emperor of the Eastern Wilderness. The main reason was that the elites in the eastern wilderness were all slaughtered by assassins like Nu E, Nu Air, and Nu San. Nu E and the other two weren't natives of Emperor Island. There weren't any natives on Emperor Island. They were just the descendants of the great emperor of the eastern wilderness. If they could find traces of Emperor Island, it would be much easier for them to enter Emperor Island. However, it was a pity that after so many years, among the descendants of the great emperor of the eastern wilderness, there wasn't a decent talent who could kill the desolate demons and sea gods suppressed by the Eastern Wilderness Tower and obtain the Eastern Wilderness Tower. Naturally, no one knew about these secrets. As for the descendants of the great emperor of the Eastern Wilderness, in order to restore the glory of their ancestors and unify the Eastern Wilderness again, they did many things that no one knew about. Nu Air said, Nu E, shouldn't we let the master make the decision on this matter? I'm afraid it's too late. Nu E said, this round trip took a lot of time. We can ask the young master, but we don't know if the young master has entered Emperor Island yet. After a pause, Nu E said, the master told us to act according to circumstances. Now, let's raise our hands to vote. If two of us agree to kill the young master of the Eastern Continent, then we'll kill him first. I agree. Nu San gave his reasons. We can't let the young master of the East Continent live. Although it's risky and might anger the big shots of the East Continent, this risk has to be taken. Otherwise, when will we be able to unify the Eastern Wilderness? I agree too. Nu Air also gave his own reasons. Chu Yang is already very difficult to deal with, and this young master of the East Continent is a huge variable. If we don't get rid of this variable immediately, everything will be out of our control. This Chu Yang is troublesome. Young noble Huang Yao and the son of the sea god are also difficult to deal with. We can't drag this out any longer. When Slave said this, the meaning was already very obvious. On the other side, the miserable life of the parrot was still going on. After Chu Yang vented his anger, he shouted, let's start. Immediately, the parrot was petrified in place. Chu Yang took out firewood, rice, oil, salt, soy sauce, vinegar, tea, pots, bowls, ladles, all kinds of condiments, and wine from his spatial ring. They almost formed a small mountain. What shocked the parrot the most was that Chu Yang, this cruel and immoral thing, had even prepared firewood. What kind of a bastard was he to do this? Once again, the parrot was horrified. It felt more and more likely that it would be eaten. Chao Ju and the others had already dealt with the big peacock and started a fire to cook. Chu Yang cut off big pieces of meat from the peacock and then began to mutter, will chicken stew with mushrooms work? This peacock is just a bigger chicken. It should work. The peacock was the chicken. Using this as a reason, he called out a list of dishes. Beggar's chicken, braised chicken, sliced chicken, shredded chicken, salted chicken, marinated chicken, preserved chicken, wolfberry mushroom chicken soup. The parrot, who was roasting its wings, was horrified when it heard this. Then, the fragrance wafted everywhere. Chapter 807. Not long after, it was time for dinner. The flesh of powerful demonic beasts is comparable to elixirs. It is indeed true. After eating a mouthful, Chao Ju was moved. However, how many people could eat the flesh of powerful demonic beasts? It would be good if it didn't eat you. How can it be fake? The silver wolf picked up a piece of peacock meat and ate it. It was quickly digested, and essence qi rushed into his body, making him feel comfortable. After Jean Duoduo ate a mouthful, he was also astonished. He then said, especially the demonic beasts on the Emperor Island. They are better than those outside. After all, there are many treasures on the Emperor Island. Just like this peacock, who knows how many elixirs it had eaten. Its flesh contains great essence. Chu Yang was also moved. The peacock meat turned into essence qi and flowed like a warm current in his body, nourishing his body. Although the effect wasn't great, there weren't many treasures in the eastern wilderness that could nourish his body. As for the preciousness of demonic beast's essence blood, he didn't notice it before. Back then, when he was still in the Coiling Dragon Martial Institution and was fighting with the Zhao clan, Chu Yang killed an eagle and a white lion. He didn't think about this at all. When he arrived at the Sea Demon City, the demonic beasts were clamoring to eat him. He returned the favor and wanted to eat the demonic beast. Only then did he notice it. However, realizing it and feeling it were two completely different things. At this time, a scene suddenly appeared in Chu Yang's mind. At that time, he had just suppressed the rebellion of the Zhao clan. One day, he clearly remembered the extremely satisfied appearance of Nangong Ing and the other old fellows after they had eaten and drunk to their heart's content. These old farts. Why didn't they tell me about such a good thing? They mocked me for not knowing what's good for me and only knowing how to eat demonic beasts' inner cores. What a fool! Chu Yang was a little depressed. He was very sure that he was laughed to death by Nangong Ing and the other old guys in the past. Everyone quickly moved their chopsticks, and in the blink of an eye, they ate half of the peacock meat. All the dishes were finished, and there wasn't a single drop left. Amazing, truly amazing. This isn't inferior to eating a mutant fruit or elixir. Soon, everyone from the 5 Elements sect exclaimed in amazement. At this moment, the chi and blood in their bodies were surging and surging, and there were even faint rays of light flickering from their bodies. The more amazing the effect was, the more it showed Chu Yang's stupidity, especially since he was a demonic beast killer. Next, the cultivators from the 5 Elements sect immediately became enthusiastic. At any rate, as long as they became gluttons, they could increase their cultivation base. Where else could they find such a thing? If the demonic beasts can be stewed together with some medicinal ingredients, the effect will be even better. The taste will also be better. Let's go and find some. That's right. I haven't finished eating this peacock yet. There's still a Soul Wheel Realm pig demon. I definitely can't miss this opportunity. You're right. When Chu Yang saw that most of the people had left, he transmitted a message to Chao Ju. Where's this peacock's demon core? The Mahamayuri Sutra contained the Dharma of the peacock. Chu Yang felt that the talent of the peacock would be of great benefit to him. The Grand Elder's 5-colored Buddhist light actually moved him, but he couldn't find a way to get it. When the 5-colored divine light was released, there was nothing that it couldn't absorb. No one could stop it, not to mention that kind of supernatural power. Let's see what kind of changes will happen after I get the talent of the peacock. After Chu Yang got the peacock's demon core, he immediately swallowed it and started to cultivate. At this moment, he didn't need the spherical heaven universal millstone to crush it. The demon core entered his body and was directly crushed by him. After removing the impurities, only the most original talent of the peacock was left in the demon core. Mahamayuri Sutra. With a Buddhist chant, a crown, necklace, earrings, and bracelets appeared. The Mahamayuri Sutra's Dharma appeared. It was solemn and benevolent as it rode on a colorful peacock. The Sanskrit chants resounded in his spiritual world. The Mahamayuri Sutra's Dharma didn't change much, but the peacock he rode on was clearer and more real than before. Green, yellow, red, black, and white divine lights shone around it. It was beautiful and solemn. That's it? I got the talent of the peacock, but it only made the Peacock King's figure clearer and more real. Chu Yang used his genius martial soul and pointed it at the Peacock King. Then, the Peacock King collapsed into the 5 colors of green, yellow, red, black, and white. Guided by the genius martial soul, it merged with Chu Yang's chaotic physique. Chaos! Suddenly, Chu Yang was shocked. According to what Chu Yang knew, the 5-colored divine light was a little bit of chi of the Great Way in the primordial chaos. When the 5-colored divine light was separated into the 5 elements, the Peacock King was born in it and grew into 5 feathers on its tail. The Peacock King refined it and reenacted the 5 elements. When the 5-colored divine light shone, there was nothing under the Great Way that it couldn't shine. Can I do it too? Chapter 808. Night fell and the silver moonlight sprinkled down. 5 colors of green, yellow, red, black, and white were injected into the origin of Chu Yang's chaotic physique. After an unknown amount of time, there was finally a fluctuation. 5 rays of light shot out from the deepest part of his body and floated in his sea of qi. Chu Yang saw that they were 5 extremely small characters. They seemed to be 5 tadpole characters. The meanings of the characters were clear. One was like a mountain, one was like a drop of water, one was like a pillar of heaven, one was like a flame, and the last one was like a cone. The mountain is earth, the drop of water is naturally water, the flame is naturally fire, the pillar of heaven is like a house, the pillar of heaven is like wood, and the sharp awl is like metal. These 5 characters represent the 5 elements. Chu Yang was overjoyed. Very good, very good. The peacock has 5 feathers, and I have 5 characters. It is clear that I am superior, while the peacock is illiterate compared to me. From this, I can infer that my 5-element divine light is stronger than it, he. However, when he tried it, his little face instantly darkened. Although he had used the 5 characters to produce the 5-element divine light, this attack was at most the full power of the origin martial realm. What sweeping through all things, brushing all things, collecting all things? That was simply laughable. Did you have to produce 5 feathers? This is so infuriating. What kind of ability was the 5-element divine light that brushed all things? How could it be so easily obtained? If other people knew about Chu Yang's current reaction, they would definitely beat him to death. He was just too greedy. To have 5 characters appear was already heaven-defying. With the 5 characters as the foundation, the 5-element spiritual qi surged and rushed in, evolving into 5 feathers: green, yellow, red, black, and white. Shuar Chu Yang once again shot out the 5-element divine light. He felt that its power had increased by a lot, but it was at most an attack of the qi soul realm. What's the use of this? Wang. As Chu Yang continued to use the 5 characters, the 5-element circulation heaven ring and 5 light anti-heaven star in his body suddenly shook violently and flew out, fusing with the 5 characters. 5 elements. There's nothing wrong with them being of the same origin and resonating with each other, but how effective would it be when the 3 are combined? Chu Yang shot out another 5-colored divine light. The 5-colored divine light swept out like a heavenly saber. Everything that came in contact with it was cut into 2 halves. There wasn't a trace of sound. It wasn't until a while later that the sound of collapsing trees could be heard. Cut? Isn't this the same as shooting out the pentagram reversal? Even without the 5 elemental characters, it would still have such power. Chu Yang was dissatisfied, and once again shot out a beam of 5-colored divine light. This time, it suddenly sucked in everything around it. This is the effect of the 5 elements circulation heaven ring. As the 5 elements circulate, the center of the 5 elements circulation heaven ring forms a whirlpool and a black hole that sucks in everything. Chu Yang was not surprised by this result. In the end, his conclusion was that there was not much use. It was just the 5 elements heaven circulating ring and the Quinkink star. Even if he did not reveal them, he could still display their power. It's better than nothing, but it's not bad to have such an effect after eating a peacock's inner core. If the 2 apes, Little Six and Little Black, were here, they would definitely despise Chu Yang to the core of the earth and look askance at him. They were obviously very happy, but they were just pretending. In the forest, Chao Ju and the others had naturally heard the commotion caused by Chu Yang. When they looked over, they saw that Chu Yang was sitting there with his legs crossed. His body was emitting 5-colored divine lights of green, yellow, red, black, and white. Behind him, the 5-colored light was like a peacock spreading its tail. It was beautiful and solemn. Under the illumination of the 5-colored light, neon lights flashed and became blurred and dreamy. Bastard Chu, Are you trying to spread your tail like a peacock? Chao Ju was a little shocked. He did not know if this was the scene caused by Chu Yang swallowing the peacock's inner core or the light released by the circulation of the 5 elements. 5-colored Buddhist light, it looks like it, but it also doesn't look like it. Chao Ju was frightened when the silver wolf spoke. The 5-colored Buddhist light was the divine ability of the Grand Elder. If this was confirmed, then Chu Yang's identity would be exposed. Chapter 809. This cruel little nephew of mine really knows how to cause trouble. Don't tell me he wants to learn the Peacock King's 5-colored divine light divine ability. Jean Duo laughed. In this world, there was also a saying that the 5-colored divine light could wipe out all living things. It was also a peacock, but not Kong Xian. It was called the Peacock King. He's obviously trying to become a bird. Seems like birds are still more important. The parrot was trying its best to belittle Chu Yang and elevate itself in order to comfort its lost wings and its battered soul. Bastard bird, is a peacock a bird? Jean Duo's voice scared the parrot half to death. Thankfully, Jean Duo wasn't Chu Yang, and Chu Yang definitely didn't hear its muttering. The parrot looked askance at Jean Duo. You're so uncultured. Don't tell anyone else that I've spoken to an illiterate like you. This divine bird can't afford to lose face. Bastard bird, believe it or not, I'll eat you. Jean Duo glared at the parrot, but it wasn't afraid at all. This divine bird is the young prince's favorite. Don't you dare touch a single hair on this divine bird? Caw caw. Jean Duo laughed mockingly. Bastard bird, do you even have any hair? The parrot felt like it had been struck 10,000 times, and was about to explode. However, muffled popping sounds could be heard as one corpse after another was thrown over. Chao Ju and the others looked over and saw that it was actually 10 disciples of the 5 Elements sect who had gone out to look for opportunities while Chu Yang was cultivating. Who is it? Chao Ju was furious. Silver Wolf and Jean Duo's faces darkened, and the disciples of the 5 Elements sect around them were also furious. The parrot was scared half to death, and was even more furious than Chao Ju. You wicked bastards, it cursed. You'll definitely suffer retribution. Even if the damned heavens let you off, this divine bird won't let you off. It wanted to cry. How could the rotten kid be in a good mood when he saw all these corpses? How could it be happy when the rotten kid was in a bad mood? That bastard wouldn't hit a drowning bird like this. It had made up its mind to take revenge. Rumble! A huge silver hand covered in silver scales, covering the sky and covering the sun, came crashing down. Rat in the dark, do you think you can do anything to me with your bullshit methods? Chao Ju made a move, and a green light entered the silver hand. It instantly took root and sprouted, devouring the silver hand as nourishment. Tap. Soon, the sound of footsteps could be heard. In the forest, 3 figures walked straight towards Chao Ju and appeared in front of him. One of them was a humanoid creature shrouded in silver light. Its entire body was silver, as if it was forged from silver. There were many silver scales on its face, and its pupils were white. There was also a vertical eye on its forehead. When the moonlight fell on its body, it glowed silver and shone brightly. Its cold gaze swept over Chao Ju and the others. In an instant, it was as if a layer of frost had descended. 3-eyed demon. Chao Ju's eyes narrowed. The 3-eyed demon in front of him actually had a cultivation base at the 2nd level of the soul reincarnation realm. This wasn't the 3-eyed demon from the demon region. It was the 3-eyed demon that lived on the Emperor Island. Only the 3-eyed demon tribe, who had lived on the Emperor Island for a long time, would be able to adapt to the Emperor Island's suppression. That was why they were able to break through to the Soul Wheel realm despite the Emperor Island's suppression. Behind the 3-eyed demon, there were 2 elders, 1 male and 1 female. Both of them were extremely tall. Especially that old woman, she was extremely outstanding. She wasn't inferior to an ordinary male and was extremely strong. Her female features weren't obvious, and at first glance, one would think that she was a male. Her skin was like an old tree, and there were wrinkles on her face. However, she didn't have the benevolence of an old man. Instead, she had a ruthless temperament. Her pair of old eyes were extremely malicious, giving off a sinister and terrifying feeling. Chapter 8:10. The three-eyed demon looked coldly at Chao Ju and the others. Ignorance is blameless, but now that you've seen me, it's time for you to beg for forgiveness. Its voice seemed to be silver, as cold as frost. The parrot was the most furious and was the first to clamor. Can you speak human language? I can see that you haven't fully evolved, but you're in such a hurry to embarrass yourself. Your parents aren't worried, but aren't you afraid of disgusting me? Whoosh! Two silver eyes immediately swept toward the parrot. The parrot was extremely fast, and with a whoosh, it scuttled to Chu Yang's side. Almighty Master, I'm here to give you a warning. There's something disgusting about the heavens, the earth, and everything. I'm here to tell you, don't open your eyes. Otherwise, Almighty Master, you'll definitely be disgusted. The parrot was painstakingly expressing its stand, but when it suddenly appeared beside Chu Yang, it couldn't help but tremble. It was shocked. What a terrifying killing intent. This is an incomplete evolution. I'm dead for sure this time. The three-eyed demon immediately looked over and happened to make eye contact with Chu Yang. It couldn't help but sneer. You're the young master that the little gold rock king was talking about. Now I'll give you a chance, an honor. Kneel down and be my servant. It looked down at Chu Yang, and didn't look at anyone else. At this moment, its entire body was shining with a dazzling silver light, and it emitted a terrifying wave of energy. Can you introduce yourself first? Chu Yang spoke in an extremely calm tone, and was very polite. This made the parrot tremble again, and it screamed in its heart. It's over, it's over. This wicked guy is completely enraged. Please don't implicate me and drag me down with you. I'm already the most miserable parrot, I can't be any more miserable. Interesting? The three-eyed demon's voice was even colder. Remember, your master is the three-eyed young master of Emperor Island. Now, come here and kowtow. Is it that great to have 3 eyes? Chu Yang stood up from the ground. In the words of you humans, I am now your master. As a servant, you should have the attitude of a servant. Don't you know how to be a servant? As soon as the three-eyed young master opened his mouth, an ocean-like fluctuation instantly erupted. A silver aura pervaded the air and was extremely terrifying. It surged towards Chu Yang like a wave, wanting to force Chu Yang to kneel down. Chu Yang ignored the parrot and walked over. Suddenly, a smile appeared on his face, scaring the parrot so much that it fell to the ground. The great silver wave was like a spring breeze, blowing on Chu Yang's body. With a smile on his delicate little face, he clasped his hands behind his back and walked in front of the three-eyed demon. He circled around it and looked it up and down. How dare you? The three-eyed young master was enraged. His voice suddenly became extremely cold. Chu Yang didn't seem to hear him. He still held his hands behind his back and looked at the three-eyed young master. My first question is, why is your flesh silver? Are you sick? Was he crazy? The three-eyed young master was stunned. It was the first time he had been described in such a shocking manner. My second question is, since you are in human form, how do you want me to eat you? Although you are not human and have not fully evolved, it is not easy to eat you. I am afraid that I will be labeled as a cannibal. Chapter 8:11. Living is a waste of air, polluting the forest, and dead is a waste of land. You're really ruthless. It's troublesome whether you're dead or alive. Was all of this talking about him? The three-eyed young man was stunned. How could he be described like this? Seeing the three-eyed young man's reaction, the parrot was already mourning for him. Now you know how powerful this little rascal is. I'm a divine bird, but all I did was move my mouth, and he's already so miserable. Not only did you kill someone, you even threw the corpse in front of him. How do you spell the word miserable? You'll definitely remember this for the rest of your life. Chao Ju, the Silver Wolf, Jean Duoduo and the people of the Five Elements sect all stopped talking. The more furious Chu Yang was, the more mocking he was. Especially Chao Ju, who knew Chu Yang's identity. Chu Yang had toyed with the little golden rock and the others of the demon clan. He had made them kneel down and shout. But this so-called three-eyed young master in front of him was nothing. He actually dared to do this. He was simply reckless. You know how to deal with you. You're making things difficult for me, right? Chu Yang looked like he had a headache. Slave, are you sure you're talking to me? The three-eyed young man couldn't believe that someone dared to talk to him like this. You're really disgusting. If it's not you, who else can give me such a headache? How should I deal with you? Chu Yang looked at the three-eyed young man with extreme disgust. Roar! The three-eyed young man suddenly roared, and the ground shook. Leaves rustled down from the forest, and his face was extremely gloomy. It was truly infuriated. Every time the Monarch Island opened, it was always the one who ate humans and humiliated the human race. All the humans who saw it were terrified and couldn't even stand properly. Just like the 10 people that its 2 servants had killed earlier, one of them was almost scared to death. Now, a human kid was humiliating him like this. He felt disgusted just by looking at him. Although the Gold Rock King knew that this young man was extraordinary, the little Gold Rock King actually didn't respect him at all. Since Xiao Zun wanted to kill this young master, it didn't need to care about his identity. It was the young Gold Rock King's order to the three-eyed young master that the desolate demon young master wanted to kill the young master of the East Continent. The three-eyed child didn't know why the little Gold Rock King didn't do it himself. Perhaps it was afraid of the identity of this young master from the East Continent. But in his opinion, the little Gold Rock King was as timid as a mouse. It was just killing a human, so there was no need for him to worry so much. At this moment, the three-eyed young noble's body was covered with thin silver scales that stood up like sharp blades. He originally looked quite handsome, but now, he was incomparably ferocious. His pair of silver eyes flickered with a cold glint. His silver hair draped over his shoulders and stood up like silver needles. It was about to make a move, but it felt that if it made a move, it would definitely dirty its hands, so it immediately ordered the old woman, "Go and teach this lowly food how to respect its master. Evil creature, you're courting death." The old woman hadn't made a sound before, but now she let out a ferocious roar. With a whoosh, she shot into the air. Silver light flashed in her hands, and 9 crescent-shaped silver blades slashed down like 9 heavenly blades. Although it was formed from spiritual energy, it was as if it was real. The cold light was awe-inspiring, as if it was a divine weapon, causing people to tremble. Its sharpness was pressing, and its murderous aura soared to the sky. Humph! Chapter 8:12. The old woman was a human, not a demon. Chu Yang waved his hand. Immediately, green, yellow, red, black, and white lights shone like a peacock spreading its tail. A 5-colored divine light swept over, dazzling everyone's eyes. When the two came into contact with each other, it was a silent collision that was not intense at all. The moment the 5-colored radiance and the eerie light blade came into contact in the air, the 5-colored radiance directly cut the 9 crescent-shaped silver blades into 2 halves as if they were cutting paper. The crescent-shaped light blades exploded with a deafening sound. Terrifying energy waves filled the air. It was extremely shocking, as if the sky was falling and the earth was splitting. The souls of the disciples of the 5 Elements sect were trembling. Such a blow, just by the collapse of the light blades, already had such terrifying energy wave. If it were them, they would definitely not be able to resist it. The old woman's 9 silver blades all exploded in the air, but Chu Yang's five-colored light was not damaged at all. It directly cut the old woman in half in the air. This was the five-colored divine light. Was it really the five-colored divine light that could sweep, and collect all things in the world? Chao Ju was dumbfounded. Chu Yang actually comprehended the five-colored divine light. However, Chu Yang's five-colored divine light seemed a little different. It did not sweep, or collect. Instead, it was very fierce and directly cut. The omnipotent young master. When the Silver Wolf and Jean Duo saw Chu Yang use the five-colored divine light, they directly threw themselves at his feet. "Young master, we are willing to be your slaves and servants. Please learn from our awesome five-colored divine light. I want to sweep, collect, and sweep away all the beauties in the world. Is this within your business? Don't you know that you deserve to die for stealing my business?" What a joke! When the three-eyed young master saw the five-colored divine light, he was extremely shocked at first. However, this was not the five-colored divine light of the peacock tribe. Therefore, he was not frightened, only furious. "You are courting death." The three-eyed young master violently attacked like a tidal wave. In a flash, a beam of silver light had arrived in front of Chu Yang. A silver fist directly smashed towards Chu Yang's head, bringing along waves of silver radiance. Fierce winds blew up hundreds of kilograms of rocks in the surroundings. The Five Elements sect's disciples were extremely shocked. This three-eyed young master was definitely powerful. Just the wind that was stirred up when he made his move was actually able to blow away such a heavy rock. Just how powerful was he? Humph! Chu Yang let out another cold snort and met the attack head-on with a punch. His head of black hair fluttered behind him, making his young face less tender and more valiant. Boom! The two fists collided, and a dazzling light burst out from the explosion. It was as if a thunderclap had exploded. The three-eyed young master's silver eyes widened in shock. "Human brat, your body is even stronger than mine. Just how monstrous was he?" After this exchange, both of them were pushed back. Chu Yang's large eyes were filled with an ominous glint. He stared at the three-eyed young master and once again pounced towards him in an extremely wild manner. The three-eyed young master's silver palms were still trembling at this moment. He did not dare to meet the attack head-on since his body was no match for it. His silver pupils suddenly glowed with silver light and shot out two beams of silver light that were even more terrifying than divine arrows. Chu Yang's expression did not change. With a swoosh, he immediately shot out a beam of five-colored divine light and swept it over. The heaven and earth suddenly became dazzling. The five-colored radiance and the silver radiance danced together. Several beams of silver light pierced through the five-colored light screen and flew over. Chu Yang was somewhat caught off guard. He moved sideways to dodge, but his neck was still cut open by a beam of silver light. It could have been said to be extremely dangerous. If he had moved a bit more, his throat would have been pierced and he would have lost his life. Five-colored anti-heaven star actually couldn't kill the two beams of silver light. Chapter 8:13. At the same time, the three-eyed prince also retreated rapidly. There was a long cut on his chest, so deep that his bones could be seen. The scales on his body were all cut in half. The three-eyed prince's silver eyes were shaking. How is this possible? My eye technique is far inferior to his five-colored light. There's something wrong with your eyes. Chu Yang was actually envious of him. Lowly food, you're very strong, but you still have to die. The light in the three-eyed prince's eyes became even brighter. A silver light burst out from his body like a burning flame. Then, the vertical eye on his forehead suddenly opened. It was pitch black, as if a gate to hell had been opened. The people of the Five Elements sect suddenly felt their hearts palpitate. Chao Ju had already cried out in alarm, "Be careful! Die!" At this time, the old man behind the three-eyed prince also attacked. However, he was stopped by the parrot before he could get close. Disgusting old thing, your master is disgusting enough, but you're even more disgusting. Are you trying to disgust my master? How can I tolerate you? The parrot's feathers were stripped off, and its wings were also cut off. It looked a little funny, but its movements were very fast. It opened its mouth and spat out flames, weapons, and demonic beasts, forming a long river that directly swept over. It was very shocking. This lowly bird really knows how to show its loyalty. Master, it's calling so smoothly. However, this lowly bird's strength is really impressive. The parrot made the people of the 5 elements sect feel disdainful and somewhat surprised. Roar! The 3-eyed prince opened his third eye, but he did not use it. He directly rushed over with endless silver light, like a silver wave crashing down. Chu Yang was a little afraid of the third eye. His whole body flashed with 5-colored light, like a 5-colored rainbow behind him, like a peacock spreading its tail. The 5 elements' spiritual chi surged and turned into a peacock that rushed out. Bursts of Sanskrit chants came out from his body, as if he was the Mahamayuri at this moment. Bang, bang, bang! Rumble! Loud noises rang out continuously. Huge rocks in the mountain forest were blasted into fine powder. Towering ancient trees fell down one after another. Dust soared into the sky, and the earth trembled incessantly. The multicolored figure and the silver figure were extremely fast. The confrontation between the two was shocking to the soul. Swish! The silver light blotted out the sky and covered the earth. It was as if a huge silver blade was slashing towards him. Chu Yang dodged, but the place where he was standing was directly flattened, turning into a mess. Chu Yang fought intensely with the 3-eyed young master, but in order to conceal his identity, the methods he used were limited. Also, the 3-eyed young master's strength was truly shocking. He wasn't an ordinary soul circulation realm cultivator. He dodged and attacked again. The 3-eyed prince met the attack head-on. The two of them exchanged dazzling blows in an instant. The radiance was so dazzling that people couldn't open their eyes. There were whistling gales everywhere. The aftermath of the explosion was like a surging wave. The more the 3-eyed prince fought, the more frightened he became. He was not as good as him in terms of physical strength, but in terms of precious techniques, he realized that his opponent was not weaker than him either. It even felt as if the other party was using it to polish the 5-colored divine radiance and the peacock precious technique. To it, this was simply a type of humiliation. However, what shocked it the most was that its eyes repeatedly shot out silver light. Even such a talent seemed to be seen through by the other party. At this moment, Chu Yang's eyes were shining brightly. I can't let this continue. The 3-eyed prince suddenly shot out a silver ocean, which enveloped Chu Yang. Chapter 8:14. Buzz. A strange fluctuation rippled in the void. Suddenly, a black light shot out from the third eye and arrived in front of Chu Yang in an instant. It turned into a huge demonic saber and chopped down at Chu Yang. Chi. There seemed to be a highly toxic substance or a terrifying corrosive liquid around the demonic blade. Once it came into contact with the air, it immediately emitted a sizzling sound and emitted white smoke. There were also countless miserable screams being emitted from it. They were extremely mournful, as though they were the miserable screams of the people being killed by this demonic blade before they died. The sound alone frightened the people of the 5 elements sect and made their hair stand on end. 5-colored divine light. Chu Yang felt a great sense of danger. At the same time, he activated the pentagram anti-heaven star and the 5 elements heaven rotating ring, shooting out a blazing 5-colored light. The 5 elements heaven rotating ring and the pentagram anti-heaven star both spun at high speed, forming a huge vortex and a black hole in the center. It sucked in everything, while the pentagram anti-heaven star cut everything. However, none of this appeared. Whoosh! As soon as the 5-colored divine light shot out, the demonic saber was sucked in and disappeared. Then, black water splashed out and fell to the ground with a sizzling sound. It corroded the ground violently and emitted billowing white smoke. What, it's really the five-colored divine light! The three-eyed young master was shocked and in disbelief. Chao Ju also opened his eyes wide at this moment. It was really the five-colored divine light. This divine light swept through everything, sucked in everything, and wiped out everything. Chu Yang used the five elements heaven rotating ring to shoot out the five-colored divine light. At this moment it was really like the five-colored divine light. It made the surroundings suddenly seem to be still. You actually got the five-colored divine light of the Peacock clan. The three-eyed young master's voice was trembling, not because of fear, but because of excitement. After the shock, he felt a burst of ecstasy in his heart. Lowly Food, you are very good. I will capture you and torture you out of the five-colored divine light. Then, the divine light will be mine. Hey, you incomplete thing, are you not awake yet? How dare you talk to my master like this? Before Chu Yang could say anything, the parrot jumped out and cleaned up the old servant of the three-eyed prince. The three-eyed young master's eyes turned cold. He didn't pay any attention to the stupid parrot. Instead, he suddenly released a silver light shield that enveloped Chu Yang. It was the three-eyed young master's domain. The fact that it could release its own domain on Emperor Island was simply too shocking. Under the suppression of the Emperor Island, although the demonic beasts on the Emperor Island didn't fall from the soul reincarnation realm, they were still able to release their own domains. This was the case with the pig demon that Chu Yang had killed when they first entered Emperor Island. However, the three-eyed young master was able to release his own domain. Clearly, this was what he relied on and what he was proud of. Lowly Food, I'll give you one more chance. Be my servant obediently and offer me the five-colored divine light. I'll bestow upon you unlimited glory. Tisk. Chu Yang didn't care about the three-eyed young master at all. He looked down on the three-eyed young master and said, "Disgusting thing locked in Emperor Island, you're really stupid. You think that your so-called domain can restrain me? I'll show you the real five-colored divine light." Boom. The five-colored divine light burst out and a beautiful peacock appeared behind Chu Yang. Under the cover of the five-colored divine light, he used the third revolution of the primitive martial technique and the third revolution of the vital spirit. He now had 20 dragons' power, which was 120 dragons' power. He could kill even a soul reincarnation realm level 8 or level 9. Although he didn't have a domain to fight against the three-eyed young master, the three-eyed young master was only at the soul reincarnation realm level 2. As the five-colored divine light burst out, Chu Yang directly pierced his hands into the silver shield and tore it apart. It was as if he was tearing apart a piece of cloth. He tore the silver shield into two halves. What? With the five-colored divine light, he can actually tear apart my domain? The three-eyed young master was scared out of his wits at this moment. In the dark, a pair of eyes saw this scene and couldn't help but send out a huge spiritual fluctuation. However, no one paid attention to it. However, Chu Yang's divine sense was too sharp. He faintly sensed it in the middle of the battle, but he didn't have the time to pay attention to it. The three-eyed young master's domain was torn apart, so how could he still dare to fight against Chu Yang? His body burst out with boundless silver light as he quickly fled. "Do you think you can still run?" Chu Yang lightly shouted. With a boom, a pair of peacock wings appeared behind his back. As soon as they spread out, they soared through the sky as fast as lightning. The three-eyed young master didn't manage to run very far before he was caught up by Chu Yang. After a short exchange, the three-eyed young master, who was almost scared out of his wits, was directly killed by Chu Yang. Seeing Chu Yang directly dragging the three-eyed young master's corpse back, the parrot immediately sang his praises. "Master's divine ability is great. His magical power is boundless. The five-colored divine light can sweep away all living things. My master is mighty." What a shameless parrot, what a shameless bird. However, no one paid attention to this bird at this moment. The five-colored divine light, Chu Yang actually grasped this amazing divine ability. Chao Ju was the most shocked. He knew best how Chu Yang's five-colored divine light came about. However, after eating the demon core of the peacock, one had to calculate carefully. At most, Chu Yang ate a lot of peacock meat, but he still obtained such a divine ability. "Oh whoa!" He howled and screamed, "I want to eat peacock meat, no one can steal it from me. I will fight anyone who tries to steal it from me." Swoosh! The silver wolf heard this and was the first to move. With a swoosh, it directly ran away with the peacock's meat that hadn't been finished yet. "Silver fox, you dare?" Chao Ju shouted and immediately chased after it. Jin Duo also joined the fray, and the three of them started fighting. The other disciples of the Five Elements sect were speechless. Could it be that eating the peacock would give one such a divine ability like the five-colored divine light? A few of them thought for a moment. It seemed to be true. Didn't the young master just eat the peacock meat, then cultivate for a while, and then shoot out the five-colored divine light? Was this possible? What if it was true? With a boom, they joined the fray. "I want to eat peacock meat, don't steal my peacock meat. You want to eat it, you can't eat it alone. Do you really think that eating the peacock meat will give you the five-colored divine light? Don't be naive. Then you don't have to eat it." The people of the Five Elements sect were in a mess, but Chu Yang didn't have any joy. Looking at the 10 corpses of the Five Elements sect on the ground, he really couldn't feel happy. "My all-powerful master, are you having a headache because of this disgusting thing? Let me help you solve this small problem." As soon as the parrot jumped out, although its body was small, it suddenly opened its mouth and directly swallowed the three-eyed young master. Then it secretly rejoiced. "I ate this disgusting and human-shaped thing, this wicked thing, now it won't dare to eat me, right?" It thought that its plan had worked, and its heart was happy, but Chu Yang suddenly roared. "Who?" The parrot was so scared that its guts almost burst open, but fortunately, it wasn't attacked. At this moment, Chu Yang's eyes were fixed on a towering ancient tree, and his roar immediately startled a night bird. "It's just a night bird?" Chu Yang frowned. When he was fighting with the three-eyed young master, he clearly caught a mental fluctuation in the dark. Just now, he had been searching with all his might, but he couldn't find it. He only found a trace of abnormality, so he roared. "No, there's something wrong with that night bird." Chapter 8:15. Chu Yang's angry roar and the screams in the night made Chao Ju and the others quiver, and they immediately stopped making trouble. At this time, that night bird had already disappeared into the night, and there was no trace of it. Its speed could be said to be extremely fast, or else it wouldn't have been able to do that. From this, Chu Yang concluded that there was something wrong with that night bird. Swish! After the night bird disappeared, Chu Yang rushed in the direction of the screams, and Chao Ju and the others followed behind him. The parrot wanted to take the opportunity to escape, but after thinking for a moment, it thought that it had just paid a painful price to appease the little bastard's anger. If the little bastard noticed its escape and chased after it, then it really didn't need to live anymore. Therefore, it could only follow obediently. After a while, Chu Yang found a corpse beside a pool. It was the eldest son of Hai Wuya, the sea demon city lord, Hai Shanghai. He died with his eyes wide open. At this moment, Hai Shanghai's ocean-like deep blue eyes had already lost their luster, and there was still a terrified expression on his face. There was only one fatal wound on his body, and it was a sword that pierced through his heart from behind. The force of the sword completely shattered his heart, and his heart meridians were all severed. He couldn't be more dead. Other than that, there were no other traces, and there was no trace of a fight at the scene. This meant that the murderer was caught off guard and killed him with a single blow. "Isn't this my technique?" Chu Yang's pupils shrank. "Is someone deliberately trying to frame me?" Instantly, he thought of such a possibility. In the entire eastern wilderness, there was probably no one who didn't know that he was good at this. Therefore, when Hai Shanghai died in such a way, the first thing that people would think of was Chu Yang. Damn it, who was the one who was so scared? Chu Yang suddenly felt that this Emperor Island was full of fog and danger. Suddenly, in the night there was another scream, and it came from the southeast. This scream made Chu Yang's heart tremble again. The murderer is still killing and framing him. He hurriedly chased after it. At this moment, at the small lake where the scream couldn't be heard. The small lake had no name, but the scenery was extremely beautiful. Under the light of the night, the lakeside was not very dark. There was a thin mist, and the willows were very beautiful. In the thin mist, under the willow tree, there was a flute and a person. It was a very beautiful man with a thin figure. His face was very delicate, and his eyebrows were picturesque. He looked like a woman. This was the Crown Prince of Wei. After a day of fierce fighting, the Wei nation's pagoda master slowly relaxed as he looked at the beautiful scenery. He even started to play his flute, causing this piece of land to suddenly be filled with a boundless sense of poetry. As soon as the sound of the flute was heard, someone came walking in the night light. It seemed that because of the flute playing the partridge in the sky, it was very pleasant to hear. He could not help but sing softly along with the flute. Where does the illness go to know the depth of spring? Tong Shu willow leaves are 3 inches long. Lu Yin's golden thread can be found. Lian Gu embroidery versus Yun Tsin Lin. Without much effort, I am too lazy to climb. The cold at the bottom of the turquoise gauze gown is still there, and the weak bones can't help but weaken. If this scene was a woman, it would definitely be great. Unfortunately, when the Crown Prince of Wei looked over, the person who came was definitely not a woman. This person made the Crown Prince of Wei's hair stand on end and his nerves tense up. It was a man in green. He was not tall, but he was not short either. He looked leisurely and carefree. His face was pale and gloomy. It was very frightening, as if he was wearing a ghost mask. Chapter 8:16. As soon as the sound of the flute faded, so did the singing. Are you the Crown Prince of Wei Kingdom? When the Crown Prince of Wei Kingdom heard the green-robed man's words, he seemed to see a venomous snake hissing at him. It's me. The Crown Prince of Wei Kingdom's pupils constricted into pinholes and his body tensed up. Crown Prince of Wei Kingdom, I'm here to kill you. Are you ready to die? Ha ha. He's too arrogant, he's too arrogant. The Crown Prince of Wei Kingdom laughed angrily. If you have the ability, you can take my life yourself. Then I'll be polite. When the Crown Prince of Wei Kingdom heard this voice again, it came from behind him. A greenish-black sword had pierced through his back, and the tip of the sword emerged from his chest. Under the moonlight, it emitted a terrifying greenish-black light. At the spot where the green-robed man was, the phantom exploded like a bubble. Void assassin. Martial soul. The Crown Prince of Wei Kingdom wanted to turn his head with all his strength, but he couldn't do it anymore. The blood flowing out of his chest had turned greenish-black and emitted a foul stench. It was like stinky water that flowed out from the sewer. It was also a willow forest, but there was no lake. Moreover, there was a bonfire here and it was very lively. It was the Crown Prince of South Korea who brought this liveliness on such a cold night. The Crown Prince of South Korea was only 22 years old this year. He was recognized by the King of South Korea at the age of 22 and became the Crown Prince steadily. It was naturally an achievement that he could be proud of. He didn't like to make friends, but he liked liveliness. Just like how he didn't like the position of Crown Prince, but he liked the honor of being the Crown Prince. The reason was naturally very simple. For example, on this Emperor Island, if he asked people he had never met to come over, they had to come. How lively! Such a voice was suddenly emitted from the night sky, causing the liveliness of the bonfire to abruptly come to a halt. The raging flames also seemed to have stilled at this moment and stopped burning. All of this was naturally because of the person who spoke. This person was wearing a purple robe that had been washed until it was white. The sleeves and chest area were stained with grease. His fingernails were very long, but they were very dirty inside. Although he was wearing a cloth, his hair was sticking out like messy grass, making him look extremely unkempt. His face was yellow and thin, and he looked very much like a poor scholar. He walked straight over, and his eyes began to turn scarlet. His whole body also began to turn red. However, in an instant, his entire body seemed to have been fished out of a pool of blood. The scarlet color on his body flowed like blood. Blood martial spirit. The Korean crown prince's entire body trembled. Not bad. The poor scholar's voice was a bit hoarse. Then, a terrifying smile appeared on his yellow and thin face. I'm here to kill all of you. The poor scholar took out a small pagoda. With a buzzing sound, his domain enveloped everything. Then, miserable shrieks rang out, and the stench of blood filled the air. Finally, the poor scholar left. The blood on the ground flowed silently, but the bonfire continued to burn. The liveliness no longer existed. It was as if this place had turned into a slaughterhouse. Everyone's arteries were ruptured, and the blood in their bodies flowed out, forming a glaring scarlet red. Chapter 8:17. After that, the crown princes of Wu Nation, Qi Nation, and the crown princes of the Four Nations were all dead. Chu Yang also heard that Long Shensi and Hu Shensi of the Longhu sect were also attacked, but they managed to escape death. The crown princes of the Four Nations are all dead, including Hai Shenghai. Why are the two from the Longhu sect still alive? After Chu Yang heard the news, he was very confused. The 7 of them were evenly matched. If the murderer could kill the crown princes of the Four Nations and kill Hai Shenghai, why couldn't he kill Long Shensi and Hu Shensi? The night was long and bloody. Those who were killed were all outstanding talents of the human clan. Including Chu Yang, all the human clan geniuses who entered the Emperor Island in the eastern wilderness had encountered a great enemy. Such a thing made the human clan who entered the Emperor Island anxious. They were worried that they might be the next to die. Amidst such worries and anxiety, the night passed and the sun rose in the morning. The human clan began to discuss with each other to vent the fear in their hearts. I heard that even the little young master of the East Continent was attacked. It was said that the three-eyed demon could release a domain, but he was killed by the little young master. I also heard that 10 people from the 5 Elements sect who were with the little young master were killed. They are considered lucky. With the little young master, their lives were not in danger. That's right. The little young master showed his prowess last night. I heard that he even released the 5-colored divine light. The reason why everyone was discussing the so-called little young master of the East Continent was because everyone was counting on him. Then, someone thought of Chu Yang and said, "The demon clan is so unrestrained," and killed the human clan. They are waiting for revenge. Big Demon Chu, Brick Chu will definitely not let them go. Last night, all the human clan geniuses were killed, while the demon clan geniuses were unharmed. In addition, it was confirmed that the one who attacked the so-called little young master of the East Continent was from the demon clan. Almost everyone believed that the demon clan was responsible. After all, on the Emperor Island, only the demon clan had such strength. They are waiting for a fate worse than death. If Big Brick Chu makes a move, it won't be as simple as death. Big Brick Chu has to make a move. However, who has any news about Big Brick Chu? I'm afraid he didn't even come to Emperor Island this time. Even if Big Brick Chu didn't come, isn't there still Little Prince? Little Prince, do you think it's easy to get along with him? The hustle and bustle on Emperor Island could not reach the Mystery Land, let alone the lonely palace in the Mystery Land. However, the Mystery Land seemed to know everything that was going on outside. At this moment, the three people in this secret realm had just returned from outside. The leader was a strange man. He looked like a meatball. His belly was as big as a drum, and his body was covered in fat. His whole body was dirty, and his hair and beard were messy. There was a sour smell on his body that could be smelled from afar. Both of his legs had been cut off at the base. Although he was fat and crippled, he could not move. He floated in the air like a huge rock. To his left and right were the green-robed man, who had killed the Crown Prince of Wei, and the poor scholar, who had killed the Crown Prince of Han. The strange man was Nu Yi, the poor scholar was Nu Er, and the green-robed man was Nu San. Behind them, the little golden rock king followed behind them like a puppet. Its eyes were dull and lifeless, without any spirit or intelligence. Nu Yi, what exactly happened on your side yesterday? Nu Er and Nu San had both succeeded. Only Nu Yi had failed. The situation that they wanted to create had also succeeded. The demon clan wanted to slaughter the human clan prodigies and seize the inheritance of the eastern wilderness. As a result, Chu Yang was likely to appear and attack the demon clan prodigies. Chapter 8:18. I can now conclude that this young master is from the East Continent. Nu One said. Although the five-colored divine light is only in its embryonic form, he has indeed mastered it. What's even more shocking is that he can actually tear apart the three-eyed bug's domain with his bare hands. Other than the East Continent, I'm afraid no one in the Eastern Wilderness can do this. Five-colored divine light. Tearing apart a domain with his bare hands. Nu Er and Nu San were shocked when they heard this. Lien Zhen finally understood why Nu One, who was proficient in the soul-snatching technique and could kill without leaving a trace, had failed. This was simply too shocking. Fortunately, I used the soul-snatching technique to control the little gold rock king and send an order to the three-eyed bug. That young master from the East Continent will probably kill those demon prodigies for us, and even the desolate demon young master. Nu One laughed. However, although there was a smile on his face, the strange thing was that there was no trace of a smile. It was simply terrifying. Nu One, this is actually pretty much the worst situation. Even if the young master from the East Continent kills all the demon prodigies and even the desolate demon young master, what's the use? Nu San said in a sinister voice, right now this East Continent's young master is the one we need to kill the most urgently. Otherwise, once he enters the Eastern Wastelands Pagoda, he really could kill the desolate demon and see God and obtain the Eastern Wastelands Pagoda. At that time, all our years of hard work would have been for naught. We can kill the younger generation of the demon race ourselves. Nu Er also said hoarsely, this young master from the East Continent is the one we need to kill the most urgently. He added, there's also the elusive Chu Yang. These two are our biggest worries. If we can't get rid of them, the consequences will be unimaginable. The purpose of the three of them was to prevent others from obtaining the Eastern Wastelands Tower and obtaining the inheritance of the Eastern Wastelands. As for the Eastern Continent's young master and Chu Yang, they were the ones who had the highest chance of obtaining the Eastern Wastelands Tower because their talents were the most shocking. Therefore, no matter how many people they killed, no matter how many plots and tricks they plotted, as long as the young master of the East Continent and Chu Yang were not dead, everything they did was in vain. The terrifying smile on Nu Ichi's face completely disappeared. I've already thought of a countermeasure. He pointed at the young gold rock king behind him. I'll control him and order the winged tiger king, nine spirit king, and the ape king to kill that young master from the East Continent. After that, no matter what the final result of the battle is, the three of us will attack together and kill the final victor. As for the final victor, the three of them already had an answer in their hearts. It would definitely be the young master of the East Continent. Of course, this plan was also extremely good. The little gold rock king, the winged tiger king, the nine spirit king, and the little Ape King would attack the young master of the East Continent. Even if the young master of the East Continent could win, he would definitely consume a lot of energy. In addition, in such a big battle, the young master of the East Continent would definitely use all his means. At that time, the three of them would attack and kill the young master of the East Continent. It could be said that it would be foolproof. There's a problem. What if that Chu Yang suddenly appears after we appear? Nu San said, the young master of the East Continent is with the people of the Five Elements sect. In order to protect the disciples of the Five Elements sect, Chu Yang will definitely be near them, especially after what happened last night. If that's the case, the mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind, and we'll become the mantis. Nu Air frowned. This is very likely, but we still have to do it, because I really can't think of a better opportunity than this. Nu Ichi lowered his eyes. After a while, he said, if the young master of the East Continent slaughters all the geniuses of the monster clan, the desolate demon young master will probably clash with him. However, as soon as he finished speaking, he immediately shook his head and said, that won't do. Chu Yang is still the oriole, and the desolate demon young master is definitely no match for the young master of the East Continent. Not only that, but after what happened last night, the desolate demon young master is probably already suspicious. Even if the young master of the East Continent kills all the geniuses of the monster clan, he might not necessarily clash with the young master of the East Continent. As soon as Nu Air spoke, the three of them immediately became gloomy. If someone else was present, they would probably be scared to death because the expressions of the three people were too terrifying. Young master, haven't you entered Emperor Island yet? Nu San suddenly asked. If Chu Yang isn't dead, the young master won't dare to enter Emperor Island, Nu Ichi said emotionlessly. Slave 1 replied emotionlessly. Young master and Chu Yang have a grudge against each other, and even agreed on a time to fight to the death. If Chu Yang isn't dead and he suddenly enters Emperor Island, there's a 100% chance that he'll be assassinated by Chu Yang. Chu Yang could kill a cultivator at the 9th stage of the soul reincarnation realm. This ability was too shocking and they were too wary. Then we can only take the risk. Nu San said darkly. I don't believe that the three of us together can't kill two mere brats. Regardless of whether it was Chu Yang or the so-called young master of the East Continent, they were indeed brats. Chapter 8:19. Chu Yang and the others were attacked. After such a night, Chu Yang and the others were on their guard. They found a relatively safe place to set up the Five Elements sect's encampment on Emperor Island. The towering mountain was as black as ink, like a demonic mountain. There was always a thick black thundercloud in the sky above the mountain. It also looked like a demonic mountain that could fall at any time. From time to time, thunder would roar and rumble. Ancient trees towered into the sky, huge rocks were laid across the mountain, and waterfalls fell. It was like the Milky Way falling from the 9 heavens. Chu Yang chose this place because of the terrain. The power of thunder was rich here, and it was the most suitable place to set up a thunder formation. Under Chu Yang's instructions, the Five Elements sect started to set up a camp in an open space on the mountainside. Then, Chu Yang set up the formation. After discussing with Chao Ju, he used the excuse of going into seclusion to cultivate the Five Elements' divine light and disappeared before everyone's eyes. He had decided to attack the demon clan. The elites of the human clan had suffered heavy casualties. When they fought for the inheritance of Emperor Island, it would be extremely disadvantageous. They would definitely be pushed out by the demon clan. This was something Chu Yang did not want to see. After all, his hope of increasing his cultivation level was all in the inheritance of Emperor Island. Otherwise, without the inheritance of Emperor Island, when would he be able to complete the third transformation of the ascending soul realm? The genius martial soul and the idiot martial soul required a terrifying amount of soul power to improve. Sometimes he felt a little desperate. The energy required to improve his physical body was also terrifying. Chu Yang checked his savings. Soul power. He had killed many elders of the Soul Devourer clan and many demons of the Thousand Demons sect in the Reincarnation Gourd. The Reincarnation Gourd could refine a lot of soul power from their souls, but it was like a cup of water on a burning cart of firewood. It was already a blessing that his 2 martial souls could increase by 2 rank. As for the energy required to improve his physical body, he only had 1 desolate demon egg. He planned to leave it for Little 5 and Little 6 to revive. Kill the desolate demon prince and seize the remaining 5 desolate demon eggs. That's still not enough. The desolate demon and sea gods suppressed by Emperor Island are the real deal. Only by obtaining their soul energy and the essence of their flesh and blood can I complete the 2nd transformation of soul ascension and enter the 3rd transformation of soul ascension. In that case, I must first balance the strength of the human clan and the demon clan. Otherwise, it would be too difficult for me to fight against the desolate demon young master and the others by myself. After some consideration, Chu Yang was even more determined to kill the Little Gold Rock King, the 9 Spirit King, the Winged Tiger King, the Little Ape King, and the Little Three-Eyed King. Roar. The lion's roar sent out sound waves that shook the mountains and rivers. After that, the location where Chu Yang was cultivating in seclusion also shone with multicolored light, like a peacock spreading its tail. After creating the impression that he was cultivating in seclusion, he prepared to leave. He went out to hunt, but as soon as he lengthened his bones and finished changing his form, a rumbling sound came from outside. Moreover, it did not stop, and there were also faint sounds of killing. What's going on? Chu Yang couldn't help but narrow his eyes. The situation had changed. He immediately changed into his 8 or 9-year-old appearance. At this time, a disciple of the 5 Elements sect hurriedly flew towards him. Little young master, the Little Gold Rock King and the others are here. Senior brother Chao Ju and the others can't hold on for much longer. This person was about 24 or 25 years old. There was a black mole on the left side of his face. When he saw Chu Yang, he spoke anxiously. I know. Chapter 820. If he fought with the Little Gold Rock King and the others, his identity might be exposed. Then, the disciple of the 5 Elements sect with a mole on his face suddenly appeared in his mind. I seemed to have sensed his mental fluctuations before. Everyone had their own characteristics, and so did the divine soul. Then, the night bird from last night also appeared in his mind. Was he the person last night? At this moment, Chu Yang suddenly felt that something sharp was piercing his flesh from behind, wanting to pierce through him. In an instant, Chu Yang realized that the situation was bad. He rushed forward at an extremely fast speed, and when he turned his head around, he saw that the 5 Element sect disciple with the mole on his face had a strange smile on his face. Then, with a bang, he exploded and his flesh and blood splattered everywhere. Damn it, who is it? Chu Yang could conclude that the disciple of the 5 Elements sect was definitely being manipulated. At the same time, he immediately felt a sharp pain on his back. Something was polluting his blood and corroding his flesh and blood. A great fear struck his heart. It's poisonous, it's highly poisonous. Bang! With a thought, a large piece of flesh on his back was blown out, and a large amount of blood was also forced out, spraying on the ground like a water column. In an instant, the ground was corroded and white smoke billowed. The piece of flesh that was blown out was also rotting at a visible speed in a short period of time, emitting a rancid smell. Chu Yang's pupils shrank at the sight. What a vicious poison! If I was a moment late, I'm afraid I would be in trouble. The poison immediately reminded him of the appearance of the Crown Prince of the Wei Kingdom when he died last night. The Crown Prince of the Wei Kingdom was bluish-black all over. Not long after he died, he emitted a rancid smell. It's the same group of people from last night. Chu Yang sat down cross-legged to heal his wounds. His physical body's self-healing ability was extremely strong. His muscles wriggled and his blood surged like a river. In a short period of time, the flesh on his back grew again, no different from before he was injured. It didn't take long, but Chu Yang found that the fierce fighting outside had subsided. He was shocked. Could it be that the fighting just now was just to attract my attention, or Chao Ju and the others are all dead? Shua. He flew out and arrived in the blink of an eye. At this time, the battle was almost over. Chao Ju was dispirited and listless. His face was as pale as a sheet of paper. There was a large hole in his chest. He was lying in a pool of blood, gasping for breath. Beside him, Jean Duoduo's entire body was charred black. Several golden feathers had pierced through his body, causing blood to gush out. The silver wolf's forehead almost split open. There were deep scars on it, and it was almost killed by a single claw. The parrot also participated in the battle, but at this time it was on the verge of death. Seeing Chu Yang there, it continuously cried out in a low voice to show its unwavering loyalty. Many disciples of the 5 Elements sect died, and their corpses were strewn all over the place. From the moment Chu Yang heard the sounds of battle, to the moment he was ambushed, healed, and finally appeared, only an incense stick's worth of time had passed. However, Chao Ju and the others had all been defeated. Chapter 8:21. Chu Yang looked at the other side. When he saw the little gold rock king and the others, he understood. Chao Ju's defeat wasn't unjust, because the other party was strong enough. Leading them were the little gold rock king, 9-spirit king, winged tiger king, little 3-eyed king, princess fox, and a ferocious ape. It was 3 to 4 meters tall, and its black fur was like steel needles. It had a bloody mouth and fangs, and it was pounding its chest. This should be the little ape king. They attacked at the same time. Chao Ju and the others were surrounded by them. Naturally, they couldn't hold on for long. In addition to them, there were a dozen or so demons. They were all very strong and had murderous auras. They should be demons from Emperor Island. Chu Yang didn't show his anger. He put his hands on his hips and pointed at them. Little golden bird, sick cat 1, sick cat 2, little deformed, little monkey, and that female fox without a tail. I'm overseeing the 5 Elements sect, and you dare to come and slap my face. You've committed a heinous crime. Now I'll give you a chance to kowtow and apologize. The little gold rock king was little golden bird, 9-spirit king was sick cat 1, and winged tiger king was sick cat 2? The most outrageous one was the little 3-eyed king. Because it had an extra eye, it was called little deformed. Such a big commotion naturally attracted a lot of attention. Many people were watching this battle. When they heard Chu Yang's words, they couldn't help but be stunned. What little golden bird? The parrot immediately clamored. So blind. It even dares to offend my master. Is it a bird? At most, it's a chicken. The parrot was seriously injured, but it didn't forget to flatter Chu Yang. However, its cheap mouth had weakened a lot, and it didn't seem to know how to despise people anymore. Lowly food. You really think you're a young master of the East Continent? The winged tiger king's voice was cold, and there was a kind of arrogance and disdain on his face. Xiao Zun has already investigated. You're just a lowly creature. After killing a disciple of the East Continent's Gongsun family, you had nowhere to run, so you hid in the eastern wilderness. Chu Yang couldn't help but narrow his eyes. Could it be that they mistook me for someone? Stupid cat, just wait and come into the bowl. Jean Duoduo also howled. You won't die if you don't seek death. Just wait for junior brother Chu to deal with you. Chao Ju looked at the group of demonic beasts and sneered. My junior brother Chu only gave you a brick and stripped you naked. This time, you can imagine how he will torture you. I guarantee that you will be humiliated in a very rhythmic manner. Chu Yang. When the winged Tiger King, Nine-Spirit King, and the others heard this, all kinds of strange expressions appeared on their faces. Today they had attacked the Five Elements sect. How would Chu Yang take revenge? They only thought about it for a moment before they felt chills all over their bodies. Stripped naked, hung up to dry under the sun, there were worse things than this. For a moment, the Nine-Spirit King, the Winged Tiger King, and the others all revealed looks of fear. "Ha, now you know fear? Just wait for my senior brother to deal with you." The Silver Wolf laughed loudly and pointed at the Winged Tiger King. "You despicable sick cat actually dared to sneak attack me. When my senior brother deals with you, I'll definitely give him valuable advice." "What bullshit, Chu Yang? What bullshit, young master? All of you are lowly food. Today I'll tear you all apart," the little ape king roared angrily. Then it looked at Chu Yang with disdain, emitting a murderous aura. Chu Yang glanced at it and said, "Little monkey, you're being rude. It's obvious that you haven't suffered from my idol before. Very well, I'll deal with you to pay respect to my idol. However, I definitely won't strip you naked because you have too much hair." The little ape king was furious. It beat its chest and roared at the sky. "Little monkey, can you not be too ugly?" Chu Yang stared at it. "I was planning to use 2 pieces of the table to choke your neck, open your skull, and dig out your monkey brain to eat. Are you planning to disgust me in advance?" After saying that, Chu Yang praised, "You're a little smart, but you haven't succeeded yet. You still need to work hard." The little ape king's entire body trembled, and white smoke began to come out from its mouth and nose. "Little monkey, the white smoke coming out of your mouth and nose is your way of disgusting me. What a creative idea. You monkey, your brain circuit is indeed a little unique. I've decided to open it up and take a look." At this time, even the little ape king's ears began to emit white smoke. It took a step forward with its pair of long hairy legs, causing the ground to rumble as it roared, "Little brat, I'll tear you apart bit by bit later. Little monkey, please continue with your happy expression." Chu Yang was already too lazy to pay attention to it and pointed at the Nine-Spirit King. "A beautiful encounter, braised lion's head." He then looked at the Winged Tiger King. "A soul-eroding tiger bone soup." Finally, Chu Yang looked at the little Gold Rock King. "As for you, instant freedom, flying chicken wings." Chicken wings? The little gold rock immediately cast a sidelong glance over. Its golden pupils instantly turned into a golden vortex, erupting with a great suction force, as if it wanted to suck Chu Yang's soul out. Chapter 822. "Ah!" Someone screamed in fright, "Too terrifying, what is this? My soul is about to be sucked out." The onlookers were in chaos. Many of the Five Elements sect's disciples were horrified and felt a chill run down their spines. They abruptly left the little Gold Rock King's line of sight and shook their heads vigorously. Only then did they regain their senses. The little Gold Rock King's entire body was shining with golden light. It had a kind of innate majesty, as if a golden god had descended into the world. At this moment it was looking down at Chu Yang and its surroundings, as if it was looking down at its people. Its eyes were incomparably deep, and the center of the vortex was like a black hole. It swallowed the golden color in its eyes, and its golden eyes shockingly turned pure black. If it wasn't for Chu Yang, an ordinary person's soul might really be sucked out when they faced the little Gold Rock King's pair of eyes. Chu Yang shivered in his heart. The little Gold Rock King was already abnormally powerful, and now there was something strange about its body. He had to be vigilant, or else he might suffer a great loss. Buzz! His soul shook, and the little Gold Rock King's effect on his spirit collapsed in an instant. Circles of ripples rippled out. "What a pity!" the little Gold Rock King said in a low voice that was almost inaudible. Its voice was like gold and stone, without any emotion. Although its voice was low, how could Chu Yang not hear it? He couldn't help but squint his eyes. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Let me go first. I want to see what's so great about this lowly person who tricked you all into kneeling down. You all are afraid of him, but I'm not afraid of him." The little ape king roared angrily and strode forward. It was the first to make a move. Boom, boom, boom. The ground jumped up and down, and the 100-pound stones on the ground were actually jolted into the air. Although the little ape king was only 3 to 4 meters tall, it seemed extremely heavy. The power it exerted when it stomped down was far beyond its size. Its whole body was covered in thick black hair, and it was like a foot-long steel needle. "Little monkey, I am now certain that you are the #1 idiot amongst the demonic beasts. My lord's divine abilities are vast and boundless, yet you still haven't sensed it. You have committed a grave sin," the parrot clamored. "Little bitch, your skills are deteriorating too quickly. These words have no lethality at all," Chu Yang commented. The parrot refused to accept this and vented its anger on the little ape king. It cursed, "Stupid monkey, your stupidity has infected me. What enmity does this divine bird have with you? You're actually so malicious." With a boom, the little ape king was infuriated after hearing this. Its body erupted with boundless black light like a small black sun. It suddenly grew to 7 or 8 meters in height and stomped down with one of its black feet. It was overbearing, wild, violent, and condescending. There was also a kind of extreme disdain and contempt. It wanted to stomp Chu Yang, this ant, to death. Its appearance was ferocious, and it had a wide mouth and sharp fangs. This kind of attitude was like a giant dragon crushing a bug. It was so arrogant and domineering. It was a type of self-confidence, but it was also a type of humiliation and retaliation. The little ape king wanted to kill Chu Yang with an unstoppable force. "You really haven't suffered a loss before. You're always so naive." This was the parrot's lesson of blood and tears. It saw that this black monkey was so arrogant. It was no different from how it was before. It was completely courting death. Wait a moment, it could guarantee that this black monkey would immediately feel how much of a bastard Chu Yang was. The little ape king's black feet covered the sky as it stomped down. Chu Yang's small body had already disappeared from everyone's line of sight. Overturning the sky seal. With the help of the little ape king's concealment, Chu Yang vaguely used the overturning the sky seal. Immediately, the world seemed to shake fiercely. Everyone saw that the little ape king seemed to be caught by an invisible big hand. It suddenly stopped in place, and then it was flipped over. It crashed to the ground with a boom. Chapter 8:23. In my name, come here, lightning. Chu Yang secretly activated the formation. He pointed his small hand at the sky, and with a rumbling sound, a bolt of lightning tore through the sky and struck down. At this moment, everyone's eyes couldn't help but bulge, and their expressions were very strange, because this bolt of lightning accurately struck the middle of the little ape king's crotch. The little ape king's hair instantly stood on end, and he was extremely frightened. He didn't even have time to struggle up from the ground. Suddenly, a black light burst out from his body, forming a big black bell to protect him. Rumble! The sound of thunder struck down, and the big bell burst into pieces. The little ape king was directly blasted out from the ground, and then the sound of electric current was loud. The little ape king's black body was like a dark cloud at this moment, and lightning flashed and thunder rumbled on it. At the same time, its whole body was charred black, and wisps of white smoke were emitted from it, and the smell of burnt meat was also emitted. Roar! The little ape king's scream immediately shook the sky and earth. Everyone present, whether human or demon, seemed to be able to roughly imagine how the little ape king was feeling at this moment. After all, the smell of burnt meat was emitted. The little young master really lived up to his reputation. After all, how could such a person be ordinary when he idolized Brick Chew? This strike and this lightning shocked everyone who saw this scene, and they were a little confused. However, the little ape king could only blame himself for being too arrogant. He actually dared to be so disrespectful to the little young master. Even if the little young master wasn't the son of some big shot in the East Continent, he was still extremely extraordinary. He really wouldn't die if he didn't seek death. Ga. The parrot's prediction completely became reality. It was laughing so hard that it kept rolling on the ground. Ha ha! Chao Ju, the silver wolf, Jean Duo, and the people of the 5 Elements sect all laughed crazily. Chu Yang was speechless. Then, he shrugged and spread his hands at the crowd, saying, "If I say that I really didn't do it on purpose, would you believe me? I'm very pure." Ga. Ha ha! The parrot, Chao Ju, and the others laughed even harder, and the onlookers also laughed crazily. On the Demon Clan's side, other than the little gold rock king, the 9 Spirit King, the winged Tiger King, and the others suddenly felt as if a certain part of their bodies had been struck by lightning. At this moment they were also charred and in pain. Their expressions revealed a faint sense of uneasiness. Chu Yang and this bullshit little young master in front of them, the evilness of the two of them had completely exceeded their imagination. It was guaranteed that they would definitely regret it until their intestines turned green. Thank goodness we have the little ape king. Luckily, it was the first one to step on the mine. Fortunately, if I were like that, then it would really be the 9 Spirit King and the winged Tiger King rejoiced. Little monkey, I'm sorry. I didn't do it on purpose. I'm definitely not such a despicable person. Ha ha. The parrot was laughing so hard that his muscles were cramping. Chao Ju and the others were the same. They were laughing so hard that their wounds hurt, but they couldn't stop. The 9 Spirit King, the winged Tiger King, and the others imagined for a moment. If they were to suffer such a blow and hear such a sentence at this time, how would they feel? It was unimaginable and unacceptable. Roar! The little ape king was injured. He was afraid that it would be even worse. In his rage, he reacted quickly, and a protective shield appeared on his body. He also recovered quickly. His body was originally charred black, but after being struck by lightning, he was even blacker. However, at this moment, his entire face was as red as a monkey's butt. "I'm going to tear you apart." Chapter 8:24. Little monkey, is there a need for your face to be as red as your butt? Chu Yang sighed helplessly. I already said I didn't do it on purpose. Besides, I'm also hurt. Now, I've really been seen as indecent. I'm really hurt. Chu Yang really didn't do it on purpose. Roar! The little ape king was seething with anger. A black fog overflowed into the sky and turned into a tornado that surrounded it. Its whole body expanded again and actually grew a lot taller all of a sudden. In the end, its body grew to 30 meters tall. Its muscles bulged and coiled around its body like a horned dragon. Its divine power was shocking. Rumble! The little ape king furiously rushed over. Black light covered its body like a surging demonic mountain. The earth burst open and huge rocks rushed up. The earth and rocks mixed with the black light surged toward Chu Yang like a tide. This was a shock wave that exploded from the giant ape's body. The black light turned into a 9-layered wave that rushed toward Chu Yang. Little monkey, I'm really angry. Chu Yang stamped his feet on the ground. A 5-colored radiance flickered as he floated in the air like a 5-colored deity. Rumble! Chu Yang directly rushed over. His body moved like a peacock spreading its wings for a while, like a flood dragon soaring into the sky for a while, and like a gold rock biting the moon for a while. These were all innate abilities that he obtained from swallowing all kinds of demonic beasts. In order to hide his identity, he couldn't use many of his methods. At this moment, he had no choice but to use them. With a loud bang, the 9 layers of black waves seemed to have been cut apart by a large fish. However, the young man in the air was too young, and the difference in size between him and a large fish was too great. However, his strength was unparalleled, and with a single punch the heaven and earth shook. The little ape king became even more ferocious. A dustpan-like hand reached out to grab Chu Yang and crush him into meat paste. Both of them were glowing. This wasn't just the power of their physical bodies. When combined, it was absolutely terrifying. Rumble! Finally, they collided. This collision was like a sudden clap of thunder, and that big hand seemed to want to grab Chu Yang. However, at this moment, it was trembling violently and even spasming. The little ape king roared angrily, feeling extreme pain. That tiny fist from before was like a drill bit that carried the power of wind, fire, and lightning as it fiercely drilled into his flesh. Large amounts of blood splashed out, causing his entire body to tremble in pain. This was clearly a small body, and it was a demonic beast. Its body should be even stronger, but the power that this small body could unleash was so terrifying that it was horrifying. Rumble! The little ape king retreated explosively, smashing through everything. In the end, he spat out a mouthful of blood. Then, he roared angrily and charged over again. Divine patterns, body attachment. It roared. It really was like a glaring Vajra as it displayed its great demon-subduing divine ability. Its body rapidly shrank and immediately reverted to its original form. Its 4 limbs were glowing, and black demonic runes appeared on its arms. It was incomparably domineering, and 80 illusory dragons appeared behind it as it charged towards Chu Yang. 80 dragons of strength. Ignoring domains, one could fight against someone at the 3rd level of the soul wheel realm. This was just the strength of the physical body. If one added in spirit chi, it would be even more ferocious. When Chao Ju and the others saw this scene, their eyelids couldn't help but twitch. The crowd was also in an uproar. The battlefield was also in an uproar. The little ape king displayed its might, its divine strength shocking the world. Its black iron fist smashed towards Chu Yang. However, what was shocking was that that small body was similarly ferocious. The illusory image of a huge demonic ape appeared behind it, and its divine might was also astonishing. Violent Vajra demonic ape. He possesses the innate divine ability of the violent Vajra demonic ape. The 9 Spirit King, Winged Tiger King, and the others cried out in alarm. The little ape king's pupils trembled. That was the direction of its evolution. Chu Yang faced it head-on, and this place trembled. The little ape king collapsed upon contact, and was violently beaten like a sandbag. In the end, he grabbed one of the little ape king's arms and swung it around, smashing rocks everywhere. Ayo! The little ape king howled miserably without end. Boom, boom, boom. When Chu Yang saw that the little ape king was still ferocious, he became even more violent as well. He swung it around and smashed it on top of a mountain. The mountain trembled and cracked, and huge rocks rolled down, directly smashing a mountain until it collapsed. Even the mountains were trembling and the scene was astonishing. Everyone who saw this scene were all dumbstruck. Who exactly was the demonic ape? How much terrifying power was hidden in Chu Yang's small body? He was actually swinging the little ape king like a scarecrow, and smashing it to the north. It was extremely terrifying, and it made everyone's eyelids twitch. As for the little ape king's situation, there was no need to think about it. Miserable, too miserable. Kill him! The 9 Spirit King, Winged Tiger King, and the others roared. It was impossible for them to remain indifferent. If they didn't make a move, then the little ape king's fate would be next. In an instant, all the demonic beasts rioted together. They trampled on the earth, spread their wings, and attacked together, drowning Chu Yang. Chapter 8:25. Rumble. The heavens collapsed and the earth cracked. The demon-like mountain shook violently as if it had jumped up. A terrifying crack tore through the mountain like a bolt of lightning. If it wasn't for the fact that the mountain was large enough, it would have been completely destroyed or even erased. Ah! Chao Ju and the others were affected. Their screams were completely drowned out by the huge explosion. Smoke and dust rose up like a mushroom cloud where Chu Yang originally stood. After a while, when the smoke dissipated, a huge crater appeared. It seemed to have penetrated the ground, and magma surged within the crater. It was a terrifying scene. The Nine-Spirit King, the Winged Tiger King, the Little Three-Eyed King, and Princess Fox all attacked together. With this attack, even a spirit stage powerhouse would be killed. This attack was enough to shock the world, but what was the result? Swish! The Little Gold Rock King, the Nine-Spirit King, and the Winged Tiger King looked over first. Then, everyone else looked over. Even Chao Ju and the others, who were affected by the huge explosion, struggled to look into the crater. Not a single shadow could be seen in the deep pit. Not even a ghost could be seen. There was only a bubble of magma struggling on the verge of death. Without the great heat of the great energy, the red magma had already dimmed and was slowly extinguishing. Could it be that the East Continent's young master had died? No, the fake young master from the East Continent had died. Everyone couldn't help but have this question in their hearts. He should be dead. With such an attack, I'm afraid that even I wouldn't be left with anything, let alone this lowly food. The Little Three-Eyed King was very handsome. If the Three-Eyed Goblin from the Emperor Island hadn't completely evolved, then the Little Three-Eyed King had completely evolved. He had a head of purple hair that draped over his shoulders. It hung loosely in front of his chest and back. His eyes were brilliant and full of spirit, and his skin was sparkling like jade. At this moment, he had a gentle smile on his face. It made him look even more handsome. The Little Three-Eyed King could be said to be a peerlessly handsome man. He was almost perfect. We let him off too easily. Back then, when we were being chased, we had to kneel down in front of him. It was a great humiliation. The Winged Tiger King's voice was abnormally cold. It was like a cold light on a blade. It's a pity that we didn't manage to retrieve the Eastern Wilderness's origin source and the Holy Egg. Princess Fox felt pity for him. She looked at the Winged Tiger King and scolded him. "You idiot, can't you use your brain before you attack? Who knew that this lowly food would be so unbearable? Can't they avoid him?" When the Winged Tiger King heard this, he was incomparably dejected. When he thought of the Eastern Wilderness's origin energy and the Holy Egg, he let out a heart-wrenching roar. "Lowly food, you trash, you're a piece of trash." The tiger's roar shook the heavens. King Jiuling didn't say anything. The 9 lion heads looked confused. It was fun. The Silver Wolf, Jean Duo, and the rest of the 5 Elements sect felt as if they had stepped on air and fallen into a bottomless abyss. They were in complete despair. Once the young master died, they would definitely die. Is Chu Yang really dead? Chao Ju's pupils were trembling, and so were his hands. He stared blankly at the huge pit. Kiki, the leopard demon, who had transformed into a human with a face covered in spots, looked at Chao Ju and company's expressions and grinned mockingly. Look at their expressions. Even I feel pity for them. Ha ha. Hee hee. The 9th-level Soul Realm Snake Demon also laughed sinisterly. This young master died so miserably. Not even a speck of dust is left. What young master? He's just a lowly food. Chapter 8:26. Hee hee. Suddenly, a chuckle broke through everything. The demonic beasts and everyone present were shocked. When they looked towards the source of the sound, they saw a young figure laughing coldly in the sky. The young master of the East Continent. That impostor was not dead. The pupils of the Little Gold Rock King, King Jiuling, and the others shrank. Chu Yang. Chao Ju was overjoyed. The Silver Wolf, Jean Duo, and the others were already cheering. Jia. The parrot was scared half to death. When it saw that Chu Yang was safe and sound, it laughed loudly. My master is omnipotent and has boundless magic power. You are all idiot. Today I'll show you what it means to be happy too early. Well done. Chu Yang praised the parrot. However, your literacy is too high. I'm afraid they won't understand your words. My master is wise. After the parrot flattered him, it began to cackle. That can't be helped. As the master's divine bird, my cultural attainment can't be any lower. The monsters were silent. Not only could this human kid dodge such a terrifying attack, but he was also unharmed. What was even more shocking was that none of them knew how he dodged it. Chu Yang raised his hand and a soul appeared in his hand. It was the divine soul of the little ape king. Everyone had forgotten about the little ape king just now. Little ape king, do you want to cry for them to see? Not only did they kill you, but they also beat you to a pulp. This black monkey is so pitiful. He was beaten to a pulp by his own people. I sympathize with you. The little ape king was already sad. When he heard the parrot's words, he really wanted to cry. Roar. The tiger roar shook the sky. The winged tiger king was furious. Not only did it not kill its lowly prey, but it also killed its companion under its orders. Sick cat number 2, can you not create noise pollution? As he spoke, Chu Yang looked at the monsters in the air. Monsters, listen carefully. You have committed an unforgivable crime. Unforgivable. Now I invite you to commit suicide. Also, I can tell you responsibly that I'm not in a good mood right now. Humph. The snake demon that had just ridiculed Chu Yang immediately snorted and said disdainfully, You're just a little weakling. You just escaped from a disaster, but you still don't know fear. You really don't know what you're talking about. Not bad. The spotted leopard demon also sneered. I've seen stupid humans, but I've never seen such a stupid human. Now you should kneel down and beg for mercy. Hiss. The big-nosed demon dog sniffed the air and revealed an intoxicated expression. I'm so lucky. I thought that my food was gone and my little bone was gone. I didn't expect to get it back. I'm so happy. The little gold rock king and the others were happy to see the 3 demonic beasts jump out. Ha ha! The group of demons laughed incessantly, and all sorts of mocking voices followed one after another. Chu Yang stared at the 3 demonic beasts and pointed at them. I can tell you very responsibly that you will die miserably. The 3 demonic beasts couldn't help but feel fear in their hearts, and their pupils shrank. Lowly food, you can't even take care of yourself. Who can you kill now? The winged tiger king stared coldly at Chu Yang. Then, the 9 spirit king and the others also stood out, and the fear of the 3 demonic beasts disappeared. They provoked again. Humph, can you kill us? Chapter 8:27. Chu Yang smiled. If I want to kill you all, who can stop me? Given the current situation, it was impossible for Chu Yang to hide his strength. With a buzzing sound, Chu Yang, who was in midair, suddenly burst out with dazzling light. He was like a blazing sun hanging in the sky, extremely dazzling. Incomparable energy surged within his body. Pop! Chu Yang took a step forward in midair, causing ripples to appear in the air. Then, he suddenly moved, boom! There was a huge explosion in the air. Chu Yang's steps seemed to be able to cover a distance of 108,000 miles. He was too fast and instantly arrived at the snake demon's body. Die! You! The snake demon was completely terrified. It didn't expect Chu Yang's speed to be so fast and so terrifying. He killed it just like that. Chu Yang didn't say anything. His body glowed as he punched out. It was like a blazing sun in the sky. The dazzling light enveloped the snake demon. The snake demon resisted with all its might and did everything it could to resist. However, with a bang, it exploded under Chu Yang's dazzling punch. It didn't have any strength to retaliate and was instantly killed. Chu Yang's punch was too powerful. The light shone in the surroundings like an erupting volcano, covering the surroundings and blasting the snake demon to pieces. There wasn't even a trace of it left. At the moment of its death, the snake demon was in disbelief. How could this be a cultivation base below the soul reincarnation realm? How could it be so terrifying? It couldn't accept this. It was a demonic beast, not a weak human. How could it be so weak? It was just a punch, and its flesh was blasted into pieces. Unfortunately, it didn't have much time to think. The moment its body exploded, its divine soul was sucked into the reincarnation gourd by Chu Yang. The snake demon was killed just like that. It exploded under Chu Yang's punch, causing the crowd of demonic beasts to be speechless. At this moment, Chu Yang's body was glowing even more. It was even more resplendent, suppressing the crowd of demonic beasts. It was as if he was standing in the middle of the sun. It was so dazzling that no one could look at him directly. He was like a small god shining with dazzling radiance. Just now, his figure was so fast that no one could capture his movement. Only the holy light could intimidate the crowd of demonic beasts. You, Nine Spirit King, Winged Tiger King, and the others were furious. Just now, they didn't even have time to react. Whoosh! Chu Yang took a step forward and rushed towards the next leopard demon. His radiance illuminated the world. How dare you! Nine Spirit King, Winged Tiger King, and the others almost went crazy. Chu Yang had just killed the snake demon right under their noses. If they let him kill the leopard demon, not to mention their face, the confidence of the demon army would be completely shaken. Roar! Nine Spirit King was the first to attack. The 9 lion heads roared at the same time, releasing lion roars. The 9 sound waves were like 9 heavenly swords, piercing through the void and rushing over. The winged tiger monarch also launched an attack. He opened his mouth and spat out a storm of golden weapons. There were sabers, spears, swords, halberds, and all 18 types of weapons. Chi, 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 chi. The little 3-eyed king shot out a black beam and a white beam from its eyes. Like lasers, they pierced towards Chu Yang. Other than the little gold rock king, Princess Fox and the other demonic beasts all attacked at this moment. The void trembled like a rag. Countless ferocious attacks completely drowned the area. It was extremely terrifying. It was as if the void was about to be completely destroyed. When Chu Yang charged over, the leopard demon immediately transformed into his beast form and rushed towards King Juling and the others. He hid behind King Juling and the others and sneered, "Do you think you can still succeed in your sneak attack just now?" However, the next moment it was horrified. It saw a monstrous divine light suddenly appear in front of it out of nowhere. It was as if a sun had appeared in the sky. All the fur on its body stood on end. It was terrified. How did this human appear? How can he dodge so many attacks? It was too terrifying. This was too terrifying. The leopard demon was completely trembling. "I can't succeed? I want to kill you. Who can let you live?" Amidst the cold voice, a blinding light smashed down. Roar! The leopard demon roared. It opened its mouth and spat out a blinding sword radiance. It slashed forward like a sword embryo. At the same time, it waved its large claws and erupted with a vast amount of energy. It fought Chu Yang with all its might. However, all of this was futile. That figure that seemed to be wrapped in the sun was even more terrifying than a god of death. He raised his hand and smashed down with a small fist. Boom! Chu Yang only used a single fist. Dazzling light erupted and suppressed the surroundings. It directly blasted the leopard demon into mincemeat. A rain of blood swirled in the air. It was too powerful. Chu Yang killed 2 demonic beasts in front of the crowd. His attack was like the sun in the sky. His divine might was matchless. You! Chapter 828. The leopard monster died, and its flesh and blood blossomed like fireworks. At this moment, time seemed to have stopped. Every person and every monster looked at Chu Yang, who was like a god. How did he do it? How did Chu Yang dodge the attacks and suddenly appear in front of the leopard monster? Chao Ju couldn't figure it out, and the Silver Wolf and Jean Duo couldn't figure it out either. The parrot's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Was the so-called master of magical powers and boundless magical powers really that master of magical powers and boundless magical powers? In fact, the parrot's little heart had been beating wildly when it saw so many monsters. It had long wanted to rebel. It was just waiting for an opportunity to give Chu Yang a fierce blow. Fortunately, this divine bird knew that this wicked man was powerful and didn't dare to act rashly. Otherwise, we would have been finished. The parrot rejoiced in its heart. When it thought about how it had performed well in order to sneak attack Chu Yang, it couldn't help but feel good again. As for the Nine-Spirit King and the Winged Tiger King, they were completely stunned at this moment. Unbelievable, unbelievable! Teleportation? Could it be teleportation? If it was teleportation, the Nine-Spirit King and the Winged Tiger King were horrified. This was too terrifying. No matter how many of them there were, it was useless. They would definitely kill this human in front of them. Teleportation, what kind of ability was this? What kind of realm did one have to be to use it? The little Gold Rock King, who had not made a move until now, was also shocked at this moment. He thought to himself, this kid is strange. Monsters, I told you that I'm not in a good mood. Now you believe me, right? Chu Yang broke the silence. But what he said was too strange. Suddenly, the onlookers couldn't help but laugh. Their expressions suddenly relaxed. #yen%%. The parrot was already cursing in its heart. It cursed loudly. This wicked thing is acting so mighty now. He must have something to rely on. In other words, his true strength is even more ferocious than now. The parrot was in complete despair. It felt like endless darkness was shrouding it. Its dark days were just beginning, and there was no end to it. It wanted to escape from the claws of the devil. It was impossible. As for revenge, that was even more wishful thinking. Then, it thought of something else and completely lost its temper. The Almighty Master that it spoke of was already so wicked that the heavens had no temper. These stupid demons, just wait to be roasted and stewed. If I'm not wrong, you were originally a stray dog, right? Chu Yang's next sentence was similarly frivolous and brainless. He was naturally targeting the three demonic beasts that had clamored at him just now. The snake demon was dead, the leopard demon was dead, and only the dog demon was left. Woof woof woof. Being stared at by Chu Yang, the dog demon was extremely frightened. With Chu Yang's methods just now, even the Nine-Spirit King and the others would not be able to protect it. If I want to kill you, no one can let you live. Do you agree? What a domineering tone. Chu Yang looked at Little Gold Rock King, who hadn't made a move or made a sound. Do you have a problem with that? The entire place was deathly silent. Please pay attention, I'm going to take that dog's life in the next second. Pop! Chu Yang stepped forward in the void, causing ripples to appear in the void. His movement caused the nerves of the Nine-Spirit King and the others to instantly tighten. They thought that Chu Yang was going to attack, but Chu Yang only took a single step forward. Chapter 829. At this moment, the radiance on Chu Yang's body became even more intense. It was even more dazzling and brilliant than a blazing sun. He bathed in the five-colored radiance, and all his pores opened. He blended together with the essence of heaven and earth. The 9 types of spiritual qi circulated, becoming even more dazzling. Boom! He used the talent he had obtained from devouring the monster cores of the demonic beasts. The surrounding light suddenly surged, and the spiritual qi formed the figures of many demonic beasts. The flood dragon, the tiger, the black eagle, and the others all revolved around him. It was a terrifying scene. Such power made the eyes of the little gold rock king, the nine-spirit king, and the others shake again. They looked at Chu Yang and felt that everything seemed to appear in his body. Whoosh! Chu Yang used the path to heaven again, and his figure disappeared in an instant. When Chao Ju and the others saw Chu Yang again, their eyelids couldn't help but twitch. Chu Yang actually charged straight into the crowd of demons. The demonic beasts in front of the dog demon were terrified when they saw Chu Yang. They immediately attacked crazily. It spat out a huge amount of magma, but it was useless. It was directly crushed by the demonic beasts condensed outside of Chu Yang's body. The black eagle spread its wings and the white lion pounced. "Ah, no!" It cried out loudly. It was directly torn apart by the black eagle and the white lion, and it was strangled there. Bang! At the same time, the flood dragon and the tiger pounced on the demonic beasts in front of the dog demon, sending it flying. Then, it disintegrated and exploded in the distance. The dog demon witnessed everything with its own eyes. All of its ferocious flames were extinguished. Its body trembled, and it wanted nothing more than to immediately tuck its tail and run away. It couldn't believe that a mere human child dared to charge into the crowd of demons and kill it. There was no suspense. The moment Chu Yang appeared, the black eagle, the white lion, and the flood dragon swept away the obstacles for him. Then, he went straight for the dog demon. He fiercely swung his right leg like a golden snake dancing with thunder and lightning, and with a boom, it landed on the dog demon's body. The dog demon's tendons and bones were instantly torn apart as its massive body exploded into pieces. It did not even have the time to cry out in pain. In that instant, Chu Yang killed the dog demon. The light on his body became even more dazzling, as if a war god had returned from ancient times. He was bathed in the blood of his enemies and was invincible, taking the head of the general in the midst of a magnificent army. Chao Ju's group couldn't help but feel their blood boiling. This scene was simply their dream. At this moment, King Jiuling and the others could only watch on helplessly as Chu Yang killed the demon dog. It was too late for them to help. Although it seemed like a long time just now, it was only a matter of an instant. Chu Yang suddenly appeared in front of the dog demon and immediately killed it. By the time Chu Yang killed the demon dog, they had only just surrounded Chu Yang. They were extremely fearful and did not dare to act rashly. Chu Yang's divine ability, Path to Heaven, had even intimidated the pig demon. "You're Chu Yang, that bastard. I recognize your movement technique," King Jiuling suddenly said. Then, he recalled the humiliating scene in Siren City. His 9 lion heads roared, "I'm going to kill you! I'm going to kill you!" Chu Yang. At the little golden rock king's side, an endless amount of golden light suddenly burst out. Its eyes shot over like lightning. Immediately, 2 rays of golden light flew over and landed on Chu Yang's body. Roar! The winged tiger king's heart shook violently. He also roared, "It's you, you bastard!" "Ah, Chu Yang, you bastard!" Princess Fox gritted her teeth. Cracking sounds came from her mouth. She would never forget the scene of Chu Yang cutting off her tail. Chi chi chi. The little 3-eyed king had gone completely berserk. Purple light beams shot out from its eyes like lasers, and some of the demonic beasts that were accidentally hit cried out in pain. Some of them were incinerated, while others were corroded to the point that white smoke rose. Chapter 830. The reason why the 9-Spirit King and the others were able to determine that the little brat in front of them was definitely Chu Yang was mostly because the humiliation that Chu Yang had given them was too unforgettable and too difficult to erase. However, Chu Yang hadn't admitted it yet. Everyone's eyes were fixed on him. Could it be that this little brat was the infamous Chu Banguang, the Great Demon King, Chu Great Demon King, Chu Great Evildoer? But how was this possible? How could the great Supreme Chu be only 8 or 9 years old? Furthermore, his appearance was not caused by some kind of transformation technique. Many people were also waiting for an answer. Only Chao Ju let out a long sigh in his heart. In the end, it was exposed. At this time, Silver Wolf and Jean Duoduo also opened their eyes wide, wishing that they could fix their eyes on Chu Yang. Chu Yang, their cruel little nephew is Chu Yang. They began to sweat. This was too much, wasn't it? Even this was possible? At this moment, they seemed to finally understand why this brat looked like Chu Yang, and why they would be hit with a brick when they called him little nephew. The disciples of the Five Elements sect were also stunned. Chu Yang, who had turned the Five Elements sect upside down and stirred up the eastern wilderness, had actually been by their side all along. The parrot's eyes swept around, and finally confirmed a fact. This so-called Chu Yang must be extremely awesome. Otherwise, everyone wouldn't have reacted like this. Furthermore, it also confirmed a fact. The little rascal was not a little rascal at all. This thing was obviously a big rascal, but it had magically changed itself from a big rascal to a little rascal. You damned heavens! You let this wicked thing be too strong. This divine bird is going to die because of you. When the parrot looked at Chu Yang's young body, it felt a burst of fear in its heart. It was because it thought of some kind of great fortune, and it seemed that Chu Yang had obtained such a great fortune. What? You want revenge? Chu Yang's voice was not loud, but it clearly reached the ears of Little Gold Rock, Nine Spirit King, Winged Tiger King, and the others. Their minds shook together, as if they were about to collapse. It's really that bastard, that immoral bastard. Although they were extremely sure that it was Chu Yang before, after Chu Yang admitted it himself, they were still extremely shocked. They had heard too much about this person in front of them, and they had also deeply felt him. They had also imagined the appearance of this enemy of theirs countless times. However, they had never imagined that Chu Yang would look like this when they saw him. Moreover, this Chu Yang had been in front of them for who knew how long, playing them in circles, but they were still deceived. They were certain that Chu Yang had already laughed at them to death. He must have despised them to the extreme because they were really too inferior. Boom! The group of monsters was shocked and their minds were shaken. Knowing that the human in front of them was a little brat, many monsters were so frightened that they suddenly retreated together. They were extremely terrified. Besieging Chu Yang, besieging this famous Demon King Chu, wasn't this courting death? Demon King Chu had defeated the Soul Devourer clan and the Thousand Devil sect, two extremely powerful sects in the eastern wilderness. At that time, many people had beaten up Demon King Chu alone, but what was the result? Moreover, the Little Gold Rock King, Nine Spirit King, Winged Tiger King, Little Three-Eyed King, and Princess Fox, whom they revered, were all ruthlessly humiliated by Demon King Chu. They were stripped naked and hung up to dry. If Demon King Chu wanted to kill the Little Gold Rock King and the others, it would be a matter of minutes. How could the many demonic beasts not be startled? How could they not be afraid? After all, Chu Yang had killed his way to fame. Ha ha! Chu Yang laughed loudly and then glanced at the monsters. Since you know that you're afraid, why don't you kneel down and apologize and shout the slogan of this great genius? There's no need to be afraid of him. Chapter 831. The reason why I didn't make a move just now was because I was guarding against him. The Little Gold Rock King's emotionless voice sounded again. In an instant, golden light burst out of its body. It was extremely dazzling and illuminated the entire place. It was like a god in the sky, emitting a great wave of energy that instantly stabilized the scattered morale of the army. Its golden eyes also looked at Chu Yang coldly. Chu Yang, you've finally appeared. These trash from the Five Elements sect are your greatest burden and weakness. If it weren't for these trash, no one would have been able to find you on Emperor Island. You should be proud of yourself. Proud. Chu Yang smiled. Little golden rooster, you've got guts. You even dared to scheme against me, but… His gaze swept over them. You stinky, blue, and rotten bird eggs. You want to kill me? Little golden rooster, aren't you too naive? It's only a matter of minutes for me to kill you. The Nine-Spirit King, the Winged Tiger King, the Little Three-Eyed King, and Princess Fox couldn't help but be shocked. They had a great advantage in terms of cultivation level in Sea Demon City, but even so, they still fell into Chu Yang's hands. Their cultivation levels were suppressed on Emperor Island, so they were even less of a match for Chu Yang. In that case, they were no different from seeking death. In an instant, it was as if a basin of cold water had been poured over them. They felt a chill from head to toe and unconsciously moved closer to each other. Boom! The crowd of demons was also in an uproar, and they all looked like they wanted to escape. In the dark, 3 pairs of eyes saw everything clearly. They were also shocked by Chu Yang's appearance. These people were naturally Nu Yi, who was like a meatball without legs, Nu Air, who looked like a poor scholar, and Nu San, whose face was green and frightening. I've searched high and low for you, only to find you without any effort. Nu Yi's puppet-like, emotionless voice actually fluctuated at this moment. He said sinisterly, "Who would have thought that the young master of the East Continent is really Chu Yang? What a great trick! It is indeed a good trick. We were completely played, but in the end we were one step ahead." Nu Air said in a hoarse voice, "The young master of the East Continent and Chu Yang are the same person. Now we don't feel so pressured. Today is the anniversary of his death next year." A dark green light suddenly appeared on Nu San's face as he said, "I don't think we can count on those trash from the monster race." The young master of the East Continent was Chu Yang. This was a pleasant surprise for the 3 of them. If we restore their cultivation to the soul reincarnation realm, they should be able to fight against Chu Yang. Nu Yi's voice became extremely low. Compared to his emotionless voice in the past, it was as if the sun had risen from the west. Hee Nu Yi. Nu San laughed strangely. Nu San, are you nervous? I've never seen you so cautious before. I'm indeed nervous. Nu Yi admitted frankly, causing Nu San's strange laughter to stop abruptly. Nu Air was also shocked. Nu San, you have to know that our goal this time is completely different from before. Nu Yi's voice became even lower. This Chu Yang, we previously received news that he was a level 4 array master, but what about now? He suddenly pointed at the thunder array formation that Chu Yang had set up. Level 5 array formation. The deep voice changed again, and it was filled with shock and disbelief. Chapter 832. A level 5 array master was in existence that could contend against those at the spirit realm by relying on arrays. It wasn't that no array masters had entered Emperor Island in the past. However, since the existence of Emperor Island, Chu Yang was the first person to enter Emperor Island as a level 5 array master. With such amazing talent, if one of their masters had appeared, they would have obtained the inheritance of Emperor Island long ago. They would have unified the eastern wilderness a long time ago. Furthermore, the 3 of them wouldn't have to live in the darkness like 3 rats and do endless dirty work. Chu Yang had completely exceeded their imaginations. It was as if Chu Yang was an even higher and more noble being. The array also needs to be destroyed. The more Nu Air and Nu San thought about it, the more shocked they became. In the end, Nu Air's hoarse voice became extremely low. Without the formation, this bunch of trash from the demon clan will have a chance to fight with Chu Yang. They will force him to use all his trump cards and exhaust him. At that time, I will make a move to assassinate him. It will be absolutely foolproof. Nu San's cold voice suddenly became excited. What sense of accomplishment was there in assassinating an insect? Killing an insect was a matter of course. Only by assassinating a dragon like Chu Yang, a true prodigy, would one be able to show off one's ability and feel a great sense of satisfaction. The array can't be touched right now. Nu E vetoed. The array is now like a barrier, a shell. Its existence will give Chu Yang something to rely on. It will give him a sense of security, and his guard will be lowered. If the array is touched and he notices it, he will become vigilant. Nu E looked at Nu San. The success rate of your so-called assassination will be greatly reduced. In fact, your assassination will no longer be an assassination. With that, Nu E lowered his eyes. In an instant there was no trace of life on his body, as if he was a living dead. Nu Air and Nu San naturally weren't worried at all. Nu E was just focusing all of his attention on the little gold rock king. This soul-stealing technique was very exquisite and had evolved from the Soul Devourer clan's soul technique. On the other side, the little gold rock king sneered at Chu Yang's disdain. We're here on Xiao Zun's orders to kill you. Do you think Xiao Zun hasn't considered your combat strength? Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The feathers on its body shot out and instantly appeared in the hands of Nine Spirit King and the Winged Tiger King. Then, the feathers swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. As soon as the jade seal appeared, King Jiuling and the others released a great wave of energy. Waves of energy rushed out and swept through the surroundings. Their realms broke free from the Emperor Island's suppression at a visible speed and continued to climb. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. In the blink of an eye, Nine Spirit King and the others had all broken through the Emperor Island's suppression and recovered to swoosh. Ha ha! Little Three-Eyed King couldn't help but laugh loudly when it sensed its recovered strength and released its domain again. Its purple hair danced in the wind as it stared coldly at Chu Yang. Seeing how pure and clear Chu Yang's eyes were, it said darkly, "Chu Yang, you stole my supreme treasure. You've cultivated your eyes well. They've become even more beautiful." Chapter 833. Roar. The Nine Spirit King and the Winged Tiger King roared furiously as well. When the little Three-Eyed King mentioned that Chu Yang had stolen their treasures, they immediately recalled the great humiliation that Chu Yang had inflicted upon them. Their roars shook the sky. "Chu Yang, I will take your head and hang it on that string of Buddha beads." The 9 lion heads of the Nine Spirit King roared at Chu Yang at the same time. 9 sound waves immediately rushed toward him. "All of you are so cruel. I feel like I have to make the first move. Otherwise, I will be fine." The Winged Tiger King's voice was also cold. He stared at Chu Yang and licked his lips. "I will drink his blood and use his bones to make soup." Apart from them, there was also Princess Fox. How could she forget that Chu Yang had cut off her tail? At this moment, she laughed coquettishly. In her human form, her hair was like a waterfall. Her face was delicate and her eyes were sparkling. She was very beautiful. Her skin was also very delicate. It was as white as jade and had a sparkling luster. It made her even more charming. Especially now, it could be said that a single smile from her could charm hundreds of people. She took out a jade table from her space ring and placed a plate of fruits and desserts on it. With a smile, she slowly enjoyed the desserts. Then, she said casually, "Nine Spirit King, Winged Tiger King, don't be so violent. You can take it slow. For example, whoosh, whoosh. What do you think?" Princess Fox did not look at Chu Yang. Instead, she smiled at the Nine Spirit King and the others. Then, she said coquettishly, "He can bear to cut off my tail. I can also be ruthless and cut off the heads of his brothers. One by one, I will let him experience it carefully and slowly. It will be wonderful." Seeing Princess Fox's actions, the Nine Spirit King and the others could not help but laugh happily. They looked at Chu Yang mockingly. Princess Fox's sudden attack caught Chu Yang off guard. Looking at the headless corpses and blood spurting out like fountains, he gritted his teeth and immediately took out the Yin Yang 4 symbols vase. Whoosh, whoosh. Immediately, the expressions of King Jiuling and the others tensed up as they released their own domains. There is no need to be afraid of him. Princess Fox was the calmest of them all. Its artifact is being suppressed by the Emperor Island, so it can't release its domain. Even if it's a body cultivator and possesses astonishing strength, it can only tear apart the domains of those at the 5th or 6th level of the soul reincarnation realm. It can't do anything to our domains. Whoosh! 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 Tiger whoosh! 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 Sucking! Whoosh! 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 Seeing this, Princess Fox immediately laughed coquettishly. Heartless Chu, you are so cruel. Are you trying to refine your senior and junior brothers into water or burn them to ashes? She was wearing a long white dress. She was extremely beautiful and charming. She was definitely a beauty, but at this moment, she struck fear into people's hearts. The surrounding humans looked at the charming smile on Princess Fox's face and felt a chill run down their spines. That makes sense. The winged Tiger King also smiled. However, his smile was a little sinister. The tiger teeth in his wide mouth were extremely sharp and were shining with a dazzling cold light. We can also create a gourmet rankings later. Let's invite Debauchee Chu to comment. Is red kill head better or human bone soup better? The Nine-Spirit King also smiled brightly at Chu Yang. The heavenly rock feather passed down by the ancestors of the little gold rock king. Another dazzling golden light shone. Chu Yang also used the golden origin to transform into the appearance of a transformer. Clang! 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 The 9 dragons' bell rushed out, carrying traces of chaotic energy. It hung above his head. The sound of the bell and the dragon's roar rang out loudly. He also took the 7 kills sword in his hand. At this moment, Chu Yang no longer needed to hide anything. Therefore, he used all his treasured weapons and all his means. This burst of energy was extremely dazzling. The golden light on the little golden rock king's body suddenly became incomparably dim. Chu Yang was like a golden deity that had descended from the heavens to the mortal world. He pointed the longsword in his hand at the little gold rock king and the others. Today, all of you will die. You will be the first to die. Chu Yang said coldly, the way to die, I will strangle your neck and choke you to death. You can understand this as a warning of death. I ask you to be prepared to die. Bang! Chapter 834. You're about to die, yet you still dare to be so insolent. Can you even kill me? Hong. The little gold rock king's pair of golden wings suddenly flapped, rushing into the sky. Everything was smashed to pieces by its wings, creating 2 enormous pits on the ground. It was extremely terrifying. It rushed into the sky, its body becoming 100 zhang long, covering the sky and covering the earth, blocking Chu Yang's path. Its enormous and extremely sharp crocodile claws were dazzling, shining with an oppressive sharpness. It grabbed at Chu Yang, releasing waves of sharp whistling sounds. Not to mention a person of flesh and blood, even a sturdy divine metal or a mountain top would be directly crushed. That pair of rock claws were extremely terrifying. King Jiuling let out a long roar. His body also changed to a size of 1,000 feet. Suddenly, it seemed as if the mountain had become taller. The few lion heads roared in unison. 9 sound waves could be clearly seen surging up. They were like 9 huge waves that shook the heaven and earth. Then, they rushed toward Chu Yang. Lion's roar, this was the 9-headed lion's precious technique. When the sound waves were released, the earth collapsed, giant rocks were all blown into the air, the scene horrifying. Pring! The little 3-eyed king suddenly opened its mouth and spat out a streak of heavenly flame. Immediately, the void became completely red, surging up like magma. The winged Tiger King also moved, the tiger's roar shaking the heaven and earth, turning into a blazing sharp light. It was like a divine weapon as it rushed over, everything it encountered was cut apart. Its speed was too fast, as if an enormous flying sword was weaving about, erupting with an enormous sonic boom. Chu Yang's path was forcibly blocked. If it was in the past, he would definitely evade, producing over 100 phantoms in an instant. Layer upon layer of phantoms, real and fake, together with the 5 elements' chaotic steps. Whether it was evading or directly attacking an enemy, it was all too easy. Only now, Chu Yang did not have any thoughts of evading, nor did he have any thoughts of using any techniques. He wanted to face it head-on, beat the little gold rock king and the others until their livers trembled in fear, making them all die one by one in fear. The Yao clan thought that their fists were tough, so he would let them see whose fists were tougher, and who was stronger and more invincible. He wanted to crush their pride, their self-confidence, and everything else. He wanted to completely crush them and let them know who was more domineering. Since they dared to kill in front of him, none of them should even think about living. None of them should even think about escaping. All of them had to die. Rumble. Chu Yang's figure did not stop. The void behind him continued to explode, and the sound of the explosions was like endless thunder. The rumbling sound was so loud that it almost shattered people's eardrums. And in the midst of the loud sound, one after another large dragons appeared, a total of 140 large dragons. 140 dragons, 140 dragons' strength. His body now had 20 dragons' strength. With the third revolution of the primitive martial and the third revolution of the Chi Soul, he had 120 dragon strength. Adding on the boost from the gold origin, he had a total of 140 dragon strength. Loud dragon roars rang out. It was as if 10,000 dragons had rushed out from the nest of 10,000 dragons, filling the sky. That scene caused everyone's pupils to tremble as they watched everything in disbelief. 140 dragons' strength. Frenzied screams pierced into the battle between the two at this instant. Slave 1 and the other 2, who were hiding in the dark, saw Chu Yang erupt with 140 dragon strength. Their bodies, hands, guts, and livers trembled. How astonishing was 140 dragon strength! In the land of the eastern wilderness, who could erupt with such an unimaginable power in the ascending soul tier? Chu Yang had once again exceeded the expectations of Slave 1 and the others, and this 140 dragon strength could be said to be practically a miracle in the land of the eastern wilderness. In their impression, there had never been anyone in the land of the eastern wilderness who could erupt with such astonishing power. Even the great emperor of the eastern wilderness in the ascending soul tier did not have such ability. Chapter 835. Rumble. At the same time, a huge ball of lightning and thunder appeared in Chu Yang's hand. It was the 5 elements' thunderous hand. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Amidst the endless light, the dazzling lightning tore open a huge hole and covered all the light. Boom! Both sides finally collided. Suddenly, heaven and earth shook fiercely and the ground under their feet shook violently. 2 huge balls of light immediately formed there. It was as if 2 suns had collided and exploded with an incomparably dazzling light. Everyone was temporarily blinded. The entire Emperor Island suddenly lit up at this moment. The shock waves from the collision swept everything away and exploded. Everyone and all the demonic beasts fled for their lives at this moment, flying into the air. However, even more of them were directly blown away by the wind. Some even directly exploded or were thrown away, blood spurting out crazily. Boom! In the end, the 2 balls of light that were like suns exploded and formed an even bigger ball of light. It expanded infinitely, as if the sun had expanded infinitely and then exploded violently. Endless waves of energy were boiling. They were like waves of molten metal in the void. The raging waves beat against the shore and melted everything. Everything collapsed. The space was distorted and all life was destroyed. That instant felt like an eternity. In that instant, there was only endless light in heaven and earth. In that instant, no one knew who would win or lose in such a collision. No one could tell. Everyone present couldn't, and neither could the demonic beasts. New air, and New San, who were hiding in the dark, couldn't either. They didn't know if Chu Yang had won or lost. Perhaps both sides would be tied and both sides would be injured. After a moment, the light faded. However, the violent energy impact erupted with huge flames, lightning, and all kinds of destructive forces that were still destroying everything. At this moment, heaven and earth seemed to be roasted. The water vapors were all evaporated. The destroyed plants were all burning fiercely. The rocks were all red. Some people and demonic beasts were even on fire as they screamed in fear. After that, the light completely dissipated. Everyone and demonic beasts saw that the little gold rock king and three-eyed king seemed to have been sent flying high into the sky. Meanwhile, the winged tiger king was embedded in a mountain and the nine-spirit king was directly knocked off the mountain. Suddenly, a series of strange noises were heard. Everyone's eyes immediately looked over, and their pupils couldn't help but shrink. Princess Fox was originally protected by the little gold rock king and the other demonic beasts. However, at this moment, the beautiful and charming Princess Fox had already stuck out her long tongue. Her eyes turned white as she struggled with all her might in the air. Her fair and delicate hands were also frantically trying to pry open that golden metallic hand. However, it was as if she was a bug trying to move a mountain. It was so laughable. On the other side, a golden metallic figure was like a god. He was holding Princess Fox with one hand and looked at her with a pair of golden eyes that were extremely cold. Chu Yang actually won. He actually won. One against many. He fought the little gold rock king, the nine-spirit king, the winged tiger king, and the little three-eyed king alone. However, he actually won in the end. One had to know that Chu Yang's cultivation was only below the soul wheel realm. However, the little gold rock king and the other demonic beasts had obtained the square seal that was like a jade seal. They completely resisted the suppression of the Emperor Island. Although their cultivation hadn't recovered to the 9th level of the soul wheel realm, they were still at the 7th or 8th level of the soul wheel realm. Chapter 836. A martial artist below the soul wheel realm was able to send 4 demonic beasts at the 7th or 8th level of the soul wheel realm flying. If their cultivation levels were reversed, it would still be understandable. However, everyone felt as if they were dreaming and couldn't believe it. Between heaven and earth, there was only one sound, the sound of Princess Fox struggling. Now, she was forced by Chu Yang to reveal her fox form. Beautiful, smooth, and silk-like fur. Her pair of purple eyes were filled with endless fear. Chu Yang, how dare you? The little gold rock king circled back in midair. Its anger seemed to have erupted with golden light and was burning fiercely. The feathers on its body were like divine weapons that were buried deep in the ground. They seemed to be made of gold and were filled with a metallic texture. At this moment they suddenly shot down. Chi, a storm of arrows followed the little gold rock king as it dived down, forming a golden rain of swords. Woo, the wind seemed to be crying. The swords were resplendent, and each feather was like a golden spear. The sharpness of the swords pierced through the 9 heavens. It was extremely terrifying. The sound of the swords breaking through the air resounded throughout heaven and earth. Everyone's expression changed instantly. Roar, the 9-spirit king, also flew up from the bottom of the mountain. He didn't have time to pounce over, so he unleashed another lion's roar. The lion's roar technique was astonishing. The 9 lion heads roared at the same time. The sound waves were tangible, and one could clearly see the ripples of the sound wave. It was like a tidal wave, covering the sky and covering the earth as it swept over. On the other side, the three-eyed king still used his third eye. A pitch-black demonic saber seemed to have rushed out from the depths of hell. The saber corroded the air and everything. White smoke billowed out of the saber as it slashed towards Chu Yang. The winged Tiger King also made his move. The attacks of the four caused the heaven and earth to tremble. The scene was extremely terrifying. Every attack was like the blade of doomsday, wanting to destroy everything. I said I'll strangle it to death, so I'll definitely strangle it to death. How does it feel? How does it feel? Chu Yang's golden eyes watched everything. His metallic face revealed a cold smile. He didn't even put the attacks of the little gold rock king and the others in his eyes. Shwa! As the endless waves of attacks bore down on them, everyone began to sweat. Finally, Chu Yang used his heaven-span path divine ability to vanish in the blink of an eye. First, the little gold rock's feather pierced through the ground, sinking straight into it as if the ground was a piece of tofu. 9 Spirit Kings' sound wave immediately arrived, and a layer of the ground was directly shaved off, blowing away little gold rock's feathers one by one. The demonic blade of the little three-eyed king sliced King Juling's sound wave in half and cut it into the ground, creating a huge hole in the ground. Billowing white smoke rose, turning the originally smooth hole into a hole of various sizes. The winged Tiger King's attack was the last to arrive. A huge cloud of smoke and dust suddenly exploded there. It was like a storm of dust that completely enveloped the heaven and earth, creating a haze. The attacks of the four of them were extremely frightening. If it were anyone else, facing such an attack, they would most likely be smashed to pieces. However, the person they encountered was Chu Yang. Such an attack was completely useless in front of Chu Yang. Continue, you guys. Don't stop. Let me see how crazy you all are. I'll let you all have a good time today. Chu Yang's cold voice sounded. This time, he was really furious. How could he let them off after killing his fellow disciples in front of him? Whoever dared to do so would have to pay a heavy price, no matter who it was. Hiss! All the living beings present couldn't help but gasp at this moment. Not only was Chu Yang not afraid of the little gold rock king and the others, he even provoked them again and again, afraid that they wouldn't be angry enough and crazy enough. What kind of courage was this? In this eastern wilderness, besides Chu Yang, who would dare to do such a thing? Roar! The little golden rock king and the others were all in a frenzy, but at this time, they all suddenly froze in place. In their eyes, they saw a miserable face appear behind Chu Yang. The face held a greenish-black sword, and as if it was piercing a piece of tofu, it pierced through Chu Yang's entire body. Then, a voice that made 9 Spirit King and the others' hair stand on end sounded, "Chu Yang, do you feel good like this?" Chapter 837. New One and the others had made their move. They had made their move in advance. They had no choice. This was definitely not the best situation they had expected. To be precise, it was extremely bad. Chu Yang was too powerful. He was so powerful that he had disrupted all of their plans. 140 dragon power was too frightening. The great emperor of the eastern wilderness was inferior. No one in the entire eastern wilderness could compare to him. In addition, Chu Yang had killed Princess Fox. They had given King Juling and the others the square-shaped mark that could resist the suppression of Emperor Island. It had also fallen into Chu Yang's hands. In this way, the treasures on Chu Yang's body would break free from the suppression of Emperor Island. At that time, King Juling and the others would be nothing more than clay chickens and pottery dogs. They wouldn't be able to withstand a single blow. New One and the others had hoped that King Juling and the others would exhaust Chu Yang as much as possible and force Chu Yang to use all of his trump cards. However, all of this had failed. If they waited until King Juling and the others were all killed by Chu Yang, it would be too late. Therefore, they had no choice but to make their move. They had to make their move at the most chaotic time. The one who made the move was Nu San. With his void assassin martial soul, he succeeded in the assassination. The moment Nu San succeeded, his taut heartstrings suddenly relaxed. All of the pressure, worry, and anxiety disappeared. An elite like Chu Yang had really put too much pressure on him. This wasn't an exaggeration at all. In the past, it had been easy for him to assassinate others. The other party didn't even know how they had died, let alone react. However, when he assassinated Chu Yang, he had suddenly appeared from the void. Chu Yang had already sensed it, and he was horrified. He stabbed his sword at Chu Yang. Logically speaking, he should have pierced Chu Yang's heart and then pierced through it. However, he didn't manage to do so. In that instant, Chu Yang reacted. He shifted his body and avoided his vital point. Fortunately, this was not the only trick he had up his sleeve. The poison on the sword might not be the most violent and vicious, but it was definitely the most inconceivable. At this moment, everyone saw his face clearly. He was neither tall nor short. He wore green clothes and wore ugly and clumsy green and black gloves. His face was gloomy and green, and it was extremely terrifying. Such a person did not look like a living person at all. He seemed to be a poisonous corpse. Regardless of whether it was the green color on his face, the greenish-black gloves, or the greenish-black sword, that kind of color made people uneasy and tremble with fear. Whoosh! The sound of something breaking through the air rang out. Almost at the same time, another person shot out like a bolt of lightning. His entire body was scarlet red, as if he was a person who had just been fished out of a pool of blood. He held a scarlet blood sword in his hand and also pierced through Chu Yang's sword. All of the scarlet blood on the sword entered Chu Yang's body. Then, the scarlet color around this person faded away, revealing his appearance. He wore a purple robe that had been washed until it was white. His entire body was covered in grease. His fingernails were extremely long and extremely dirty. His face was yellow and thin. He wore a scholar's handkerchief, which was tied up by his disheveled hair. His entire person was extremely sloppy, and he looked extremely like a poor and pedantic scholar. However, in each and every one of their minds, what they remembered was the terrifying appearance of his scarlet-red body. After the successful attack, the two people immediately retreated. They were afraid that Chu Yang would counterattack before his death. This time, I can finally be at ease. Nu Air looked at Chu Yang, who was standing still. His yellow and thin face finally blossomed with a relieved smile. Chu Yang was definitely going to die. Jia Jia. Nu San heard this and laughed strangely. His eyes emitted a miserable green light. Everyone present panicked and couldn't help but take a step back. Chapter 838. At this moment, Chu Yang couldn't move at all. When the first sword pierced into his body, the fierce poison spread all over his body in an instant, paralyzing every one of his nerves. So much so that he couldn't feel any pain, as if his whole body had been petrified. When the second sword pierced into his body, there was a strange energy that completely seeped into his blood, causing his blood to boil violently. It was as if it was going to burn him into ashes. Blood was a strange secret technique that controlled blood. It was shockingly powerful and very troublesome. The burning blood technique and the violent blood technique were the most basic secret techniques of this type. At that moment, Chu Yang's body was filled with strange blood energy. He would either burn or explode, turning into a pile of minced meat. Who are they? When did they target me? Why didn't I notice at all? Both of them were very shocking. One of them had suddenly appeared out of thin air, which was even more brilliant than Chu Yang's assassination with the path to heaven. Even though he was proficient in this art, he still couldn't avoid it. The other was a caster with a blood secret technique. What made Chu Yang feel the most despair was that when he used his genius and full martial souls to expel the poison, they didn't move at all. His greatest reliance had disappeared. Nu San laughed strangely again. Chu Yang, are you happy enough? He. Although it was repeated again, everyone still felt that it was extremely sharp and bitter. Chu Yang had just shown his prowess and questioned the other party, when he was immediately returned to him. Nu San, you should introduce yourself first. That's right. Nu San laughed strangely again. Chu Yang, listen carefully. I'm Nu San, Shao Zun's third servant. I'm new heir. King Nine Spirit and the Winged Tiger King heaved a sigh of relief when they heard this. They were on the same side. The words of Slave 2 and Slave 3 were naturally not nonsense. Instead, they had great meaning behind them. In addition, I also want to explain to you what it means to be fated. Nu San continued, although you're amazing and have 140 dragon strength, Shao Zun and even the great emperor of the Eastern Wilderness can't compare to you, but you're the one who's going to die. Destiny isn't on you, but on Shao Zun, so it's fated. All of a sudden, Chu Yang's body grew taller. From the appearance of an 8 or 9-year-old, he turned into the appearance of an 11 or 12-year-old. The aura on his body became even more vigorous. Nu San's voice came to an abrupt end as he collapsed to the ground. His entire body was trembling, and his teeth were chattering. Everyone was astonished. Nu San was such a terrifying person, yet he was terrified to such an extent. However, the changes in Chu Yang's body were indeed inconceivable. What's going on? What kind of poison is this? It's so strange. Chu Yang also had a look of shock on his face. He had suddenly advanced to the second revolution, and his physical body had reached the 5th layer, increasing his strength by 50 dragon force. Gaga. Seeing Chu Yang's shocked expression, Nu San immediately relaxed. Chu Yang, as expected of an unprecedented person in the Eastern Wilderness. You've actually undergone such a transformation. I'm sure you're also very surprised. Now, let me introduce you to what desolate poison is. Desolate poison? Chu Yang had never heard of it before. He had killed many elders of the Soul Devourer clan and many demons of the 1,000 Demon sect, collecting their souls. From their souls, he already had a thorough understanding of the Eastern Wilderness. There should be very few things in the Eastern Wilderness that he didn't know. You haven't heard of it, right? That's right. Nu San laughed strangely. This desolate poison is extraordinary. It's something that the great emperor of the Eastern Wilderness, that bullshit, specially concocted to deal with my old master. It can be called the #1 poison in the Eastern Wilderness. The great emperor of the Eastern Wilderness had specially concocted a lethal poison to deal with desolate demons. Chapter 839. As for the effect, you will see it very soon. As for the great monster Chu, you have already seen it and felt it, right? Nu San said to everyone, then looked at Chu Yang mockingly. Chu Yang was already speechless. The poison used to deal with desolate demons was actually used against him. Wasn't this thinking too highly of him? Desolate demons were extremely powerful. After being suppressed in Emperor Island for so many years, they had yet to die. Their realm was completely beyond his imagination. At this moment, he was definitely not on the same level as the desolate demons of the Eastern Wilderness Great Emperor's era. Nu San was even more playful, like a cat toying with a mouse. Great monster Chu, I can point it out for you. When I killed Wei Kingdom's crown prince and the others, not only were their bodies quickly destroyed by the intense poison, their corpses also rotted very quickly, emitting a foul stench. Therefore, when I said that the great monster Chu had seen it, I wasn't wrong. Secondly, when the great monster Chu was ambushed, a piece of flesh exploded from your back. Nu San said with a smile, Great monster Chu, when I said that you had felt it, there was nothing wrong with that, right? Then, Nu San's tone suddenly changed, causing Chu Yang to be shocked again. However, that was only the first generation of desolate poison. Nu San laughed strangely. The first generation of desolate poison could not do anything to the old master. The old master and the great emperor of the eastern wilderness had a great battle. In the end, the old master chopped off the great emperor of the eastern wilderness's palm. This was a secret from back then. How could Chu Yang know about it? Everyone present, be it humans or demons, probably did not know either. They all revealed an attentive expression. When the great emperor of the eastern wilderness saw that the first generation of desolate poison could not do anything to the old master, he reconfigured the second generation of desolate poison. Nu San looked at Chu Yang. Great prodigy Chu, you should be very honored. I used the second generation Baron poison on your body, that's why there was such a bizarre reaction. Chu Yang thought that if it was the Wei Kingdom's crown prince and the others' poison, or the poison that he had felt previously, his physical body should have been corroded to an extreme extent by now. However, this did not happen to him. In fact, it was extremely bizarre. Until now, he did not feel any discomfort. Nu San, you said too much. Slave 2 opened his mouth. Slave 3 smiled and said, I'm just letting him die with a clear understanding. I'm still too kind-hearted. Be careful. He's going to make you his scapegoat before he dies. As soon as Nu Air spoke, Nine Spirit King and the others became extremely nervous. Chu Yang's counterattack before his death would definitely be extremely terrifying. Nu Air, you think too highly of him. Nu San sneered. What else can he do after being poisoned? It's already a miracle that he hasn't died immediately. That's true. Nu Er said hoarsely. Then let us watch how he dies, and then we'll go back and report. The two of them crossed their arms and stood at the side, watching how Chu Yang died. Of course, this was also what many people wanted to know. After all, they also wanted to know how terrifying the desolate poison was. Crack crack. Soon, the bones in Chu Yang's body were pulled out. In an instant, he grew taller again. In a short while, he had already returned to his original appearance, the appearance of a 17 or 18-year-old. The difference was that the current him was still different from the previous him. He was unbelievably beautiful as a woman. If it was in the past, Chu Yang would have stomped his feet. He was a pure iron-blooded man, so this was a bit difficult for him to accept. However, at this time, he was not in the mood to do so. Chu Yang had returned to his original age. His cultivation level was naturally the completion of the second transformation of the ascending soul tier. His martial soul and physical body had both reached the 9th level. This was very shocking, so much so that he wondered if this was a great tonic or a strong poison. Chapter 840. This is the desolate poison. It's so shocking that it made time pass quickly and took away my life. That was the last bit of Chu Yang's consciousness. Then, his flame of life was completely extinguished. Then, he saw his extremely old body that had been ruthlessly destroyed by time. Just like how a person's soul would float out after they died, Chu Yang's soul had already floated out. He wasn't old yet, but he could already see his old body. This was a very strange feeling. Time passed countless times in his body. This feeling was also incomparably deep. It was as if everything he had was quickly stolen away by a robber. So this is what death looks like. Chu Yang saw Nu San. He walked to his old body and kicked it. Then, a voice that seemed to come from another world entered his ears. Is he dead? He can't be more dead. Nu Air said. The ignition blood technique that I left in his body has been completely wiped out. Not a single drop is left. The blood in his body has completely stopped flowing. It has started to turn cold and solidify. This desolate poison is simply unbelievable. Nu San was amazed. Looking at Chu Yang's old body, he couldn't help but shudder. This was really unimaginable. Nu Air couldn't help but nod. This was the first time he had seen the desolate poison. Before this, they couldn't bear to use it at all. What a waste. Let's not talk about this anymore. It's time to carry out Xiao Zun's orders. After recovering from their shock, Nu Air and Nu San began to give orders to King Jiuling and the others. Listen up, it's time for us demons to unify the eastern wilderness again. Xiao Zun has ordered that on Emperor Island, all those who are not of our race will be killed. Boom! The group of demonic beasts roared and howled. Instantly, miserable shrieks could be heard. The demonic beasts were extremely excited as they directly gobbled up a few of the spectators. After that, the group of demonic beasts started a frenzied slaughter. Screams rose and fell. The demons were ferocious and crazily surrounded and killed for a while. Suddenly, a cold but magnetic voice resounded throughout the entire place. Did I give such an order? Why didn't I know? Xiao Zun, King Jiuling and the others all drew to a halt upon hearing this cold voice. All of the other demon beasts also ceased their slaughter upon seeing this. Desolate demon young master! Nu Air and Nu San's pupils shrank. The cold voice rang out again. The great emperor of the eastern wilderness is despicable, but his descendants are even more despicable and shameless. They've done all sorts of despicable things, yet they've pinned all the blame on me. What a brilliant move! Walala! The sky inexplicably darkened, and a gust of wind blew. A thick thunder cloud quickly appeared in the sky. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, and heavy rain suddenly poured down. However, the cold voice did not continue to sound, and no one appeared in the surroundings. Rumble! A bolt of lightning suddenly tore through the sky, and the rumbling of thunder resounded throughout the world. After the rumbling of thunder, everyone suddenly heard an extremely sharp whistle. When they looked in the direction of the sound, only a few people saw a pitch-black arrow. It was like a bolt of black lightning that tore through the void and pierced through it. Demonic chi billowed from it, and demonic sounds rang out. Demonic shadows appeared and roared. Be careful! Nu San cried out in alarm. However, when he saw this arrow, it was already too late. With a bang, Nu Air did not seem to have time to react. He was directly hit by the black arrow. Blood spurted out from the arrow. Then, he was sent flying and nailed to the ground. He was in so much pain that his body convulsed, and his face was distorted. Chapter 841. The figure in the center of the green light merely stood there, but it made everyone tremble in fear and feel powerless to resist. The group of monsters had all retreated at that moment. Welcome, Xiao Zun! A roar like that of a tsunami resounded. Every single one of the demonic beasts looked at the figure that was emitting an endless amount of light with extreme respect. The wind stopped, the clouds dispersed, and the rain stopped. The figure had already arrived above Nu Air and Nu San. It had green hair, green eyebrows, and green eyes. Although they were both green, the two eyes were completely different. One was emitting endless light, while the other was very deep, like an abyss that was devouring light as much as possible. His facial features were exquisite, his face was fair, and his fingers were long and slender, but his hands were also very strange. One hand was as white as divine jade, while the other hand was as black as ink, as if it had just been scooped out of ink. At that moment, the black hand was holding a black demonic bow. Let me introduce myself. He spoke in the same cold and magnetic voice as before. My father was born in the chaos and is now suppressed on Emperor Island. I am respectfully called the Baron Demon Young Master. As he spoke, his green eyes looked at Nu Air and Nu San. His voice didn't change, and it was still cold and magnetic. Let me introduce these two rats to everyone. This is the second of the 3 rats on Emperor Island. They live in the shadows all day and do all kinds of unspeakable things. This rat, the Baron Demon young master pointed at New Air with his slender finger. It likes blood very much. If you're not careful, it will make your blood burn, or with a bang, it will directly blow you up. You can say that this is a bloody rat. As for this rat, it's even more powerful. Everyone's eyes followed the Baron Demon young master to New San. It can dig holes in the void and travel here and there. It will be a little difficult to kill this rat. Thank you for your praise, Xiao Zun. New Air and New San's flattering voices suddenly stunned the Huang Demon young master. He then smiled and said, "Let me continue the introductions. The 3 mice of Emperor Island are the descendants of the great emperor of the Eastern Wilderness. They were assigned to the Emperor Island by the descendants of the great emperor of the Eastern Wilderness. Their mission is to kill all the geniuses on the Emperor Island to ensure that the inheritance of the great emperor of the Eastern Wilderness will not be taken away." How could the desolate demon young master not understand the thoughts of New Air and New San? Every time the Emperor Island opens, there are many casualties, especially the geniuses. Almost all of them were wiped out. This is one of the reasons. But it's a pity that the descendants of the Eastern Wilderness great emperor are all trash. After so many years, there isn't a single decent one. Xiao Zun, what are you doing? New Air exclaimed in disbelief, his voice already trembling. Xiao Zun, are you trying to frame the descendants of the Eastern Wilderness great emperor to avoid being investigated by the 5 Element sect? New San also said in a trembling voice, Xiao Zun, you don't have to do this. If we obtain the inheritance of Emperor Island, we will unify the Eastern Wilderness again. There is no need to worry about the 5 Elements sect. The sudden situation and the fact that both sides had different opinions confused everyone present. They couldn't tell who was telling the truth and who was lying. But if what the Huang Demon young master said was true, then the descendants of the Eastern Wilderness great emperor were simply too sinister and vicious. 2 rats. Is this useful? The Huang Demon young master sneered. Thousand Demon Sect, Soul Devourer Clan, do you really think that no one knows that the descendants of the Eastern Wilderness great emperor are controlling everything? His words stirred up 1,000 waves. Chapter 842. At this time, no one was paying attention to Chu Yang, the dead man. When the desolate demon young master appeared, Chu Yang's soul was captured by Oxhead and Horseface and imprisoned in the underworld. However, Oxhead and Horseface were his genius and idiot martial spirits, and the underworld was his incomparably old body. He was completely undergoing a cycle of reincarnation. The first cycle of the ascending soul realm, he once again experienced this process. The difference was that at that time, the 2 martial spirits were in charge, so he didn't feel anything at all. Now, he could feel every bit of the cycle of reincarnation, and his understanding of the cycle of reincarnation was even deeper. Chu Yang was naturally no longer afraid. The 2 martial spirits were using a magical thing like the desolate poison to let him feel the cycle of reincarnation. This desolate poison might be a deadly poison to others, but to me, it's simply a peerless divine object. I don't even know where to find it. Such a change was like the transition between hell and heaven. Under the guidance of the 2 martial spirits, Chu Yang immediately entered the second revolution after experiencing the reincarnation cycle, and felt the chaos. Everything happened extremely quickly, probably because the desolate poison wasn't enough, so the 2 martial spirits moved extremely quickly. After the cycle of reincarnation, his originally old body instantly turned into a baby, then 3 or 4 years old, 5 or 6 years old, 7 or 8 years old. In the end, the strength of his physical body was on par with the grades of the 2 martial spirits, and the changes stopped. Chu Yang's appearance finally stopped at the appearance of a 12 or 13-year-old. During this process, the Flood Dragon martial spirit and the Saber Sword martial spirit also rose from the 2nd grade to the 5th grade, with the cultivation of the Ascending Soul Realm's 2nd transformation 5th level. His physical body had the strength of 50 dragons, and his martial spirits had all risen to the 2nd transformation 5th grade. From the moment Chu Yang's soul was taken back into his body by the 2 martial spirits, to the time when his old body changed, the whole process was extremely short. At this moment, Desolate Demon Young Master had exposed the identities of New Air and New San, as well as the matter of the descendants of the great Emperor of the Eastern Wilderness. After their expressions changed, they realized that it was useless even if they succeeded in quibbling. Everything had to be killed in order to protect the reputation of the descendants of the great Emperor of the Eastern Wilderness. Therefore, New Air and New San didn't hide anymore, revealing their ferociousness. Hee hee. New San laughed strangely. His voice was extremely cold, as if a snake's tongue was licking his face. Desolate Demon Prince, perhaps you should still be able to live for a period of time, but you are in a hurry to die. What's the point? New Air also stood up from the ground and pulled out the black arrow feather. His hoarse voice was unusually cold. I took your arrow for nothing. I should have dodged at the time, but it doesn't matter. The 2 instantly changed their faces, leaving everyone shocked. Everything Huang Yao Young Noble said was actually true? What, you all aren't going to continue pretending? Are you not scared that news will leak out? Huang Yao Gongzi laughed, his expression extremely calm. Do I need to be afraid? New Air's cold eyes swept over. I'll just kill everyone here. That way no one will know. Where's your trump card? Is it New E, that big rat without legs? He can't activate the level 5 formation set up by Chu Yang. Desolate Demon Young Master didn't turn around. His green eyes locked onto the 2 as he said, Brother Kuan, please throw that fat rat over for them to see. Bang! In the distance there seemed to be a huge rock flying over. When it got closer they saw a meatball. Then, it fell to the ground and there wasn't much life left in it. New E. New Air and New San's pupils shrank. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. Is there still this? Rumble. From Desolate Demon Young Master's body, a white light flashed and flew into the void. Then, there was a rumbling sound in the void. Then, a white bone palm appeared. Once this palm appeared, New Air and New San both shook violently. Their mouths opened so wide that a huge rock could be stuffed in. You recognize it? Desolate Demon Young Master sneered. You copied the jade seal of the great Emperor of the Eastern Wilderness and were able to resist the suppression of the Emperor Island. Do you think I'm not prepared? How about this bone palm of the great Emperor of the Eastern Wilderness? The palm of the great Emperor of the Eastern Wilderness. Boom. Immediately, everyone was shocked and astonished. However, no one made a sound. 2 rats, what else do you have to rely on? At this time, Desolate Demon Young Master's voice became cold and loud. You 2 rats are quite capable, but in front of me, you're not enough. Jia. When New Air and New San heard this, they were so angry that they laughed and laughed. Then, the 2 of them looked at everyone, all the monsters, and said in a strange voice, Desolate Demon Young Master, you're too arrogant. Do you think you're a match for the 2 of us? Desolate Demon Young Master didn't turn his head. His slender hand suddenly pointed at the little gold rock, and then he sneered. Are you looking for this rat that's good at burrowing holes in souls? His split soul is controlling that idiot. Is he your savior? It was as clear as a flame. Everything was clear. New Air and New San's hopes of getting lucky were completely extinguished. New San gritted his teeth and said darkly, I'd like to see how capable you, Desolate Demon Young Master, are. How dare you be so arrogant in front of us? Wait, you'll find out soon enough. Buzz. because the desolate demon prince had already made a buzzing sound in the void, and seeing that the two sides were about to make a move, a somewhat lazy voice suddenly pierced through the void. I say, can these two rats not fight with me? You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.